We are brought to you by Boss Bears Supplements. That's Boss Bears Supplements at bossbears.co. Hard work, consistency, and determination are difficult to sustain when your mind and body can't keep up. Fuel your body with what it needs to perform like a boss. Whether you're closing deals, pitching a new business idea, or training in the gym, Boss Bears take your hustle to the next level. Our ingredients are the highest quality with potency and serving sizes that are the gold standard in the industry. Check out all of Boss Bears products at bossbears.co. They have apple cider vinegar gummies. They have ashwagandha. They have all kinds of supplements in delicious gummy form. They also have them in pill form if you don't want the gummies. I prefer the gummies. They are delicious, and I've tried the apple cider vinegar. They are very good. Use code Nicky at checkout to save 10%. That's bossbears.co, code Nicky. We are brought to you by Clout Power Supplements. That's KLOUTPWR.com. So here I have the protein, the Cravings protein from Clout. This one is the salted caramel. This is some of the best protein that I've ever had in my life. It's actually delicious. I like the salted caramel and the cinnamon swirl are my two favorites. Also, their pre-workouts are amazing. So they have the Karma Nootropic pre-workout. It's a nootropic and focused pre-workout. It's a lower stimulant formula, zero itch formula. It has 4 trademark ingredients, and has fully dosed ingredients. So far, the Arctic Cherry is probably my favorite of the Karma pre-workout. Also, try the Nero Aminos from them. And also the High Stimulant Mamba is some of my favorite too. And I really like the Arctic Cherry of that one. So go to cloutpower.com and use code Nicky to save 15%. KLOUTPWR.com. Code Nicky to save 15%. Okay, welcome to the Nicky Free Podcast. We are live right now with Frankie Arcega.
Is that the camera right there?
That's the camera right there, bro.
What's up?
Yeah, say hi to all your peeps.
Hey, peeps.
Yeah, yes, sir. So Frankie is a fellow bodybuilder. Would you call yourself a bodybuilder?
Yeah, I'd say now.
Yeah, you've won a few shows, right? So.
Yeah, before it would be just a fitness enthusiast.
Right, but now you got that big sword, dude.
I do.
Yeah, did you get to keep that?
I did.
Okay, what show was that from?
That was Vancouver Open in Vancouver, Washington, just this last year.
That was last year, that's right.
2022.
Dude, that is so dope.
It was sharp, too. It cut me on stage.
No way, it's actually sharp?
It's sharp, yeah.
Here, dude, keep this thing a little closer to you.
Sorry. No,
yeah,
it's okay.
Just for the recording. But, yeah, man, so let's talk about what was it that got you into fitness in the first place? And about how old were you? Was it something you've always done?
This is a fun question. I like answering this one. Because,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, no, I wasn't always into it.
Right.
I was big boned my whole life.
More of a big bone dude?
No, I was not even big bone. I was just fat.
Not the Greek statue you are today?
Nah, I'm getting a little pudgy right now. But
that's part of the bulking process.
It's off season, yeah, so I can. Mm-hmm. No, so the way that it worked out is, pretty normal as a kid, and then I ballooned up pretty fast.
Right.
I remember I was like 100 pounds when I think I was 8, which is a lot, right?
Right, man. So, I was just had my 2 guests ago, this kid that was up to 316 pounds.
No way.
When he was like 13, and he lost so much weight he had to have the skin surgery and everything.
Yeah.
And it was crazy inspirational weight loss story.
300 at 13. Is that what you just said?
Yeah, 316. I remembered it because of Stone Cold.
That's unreal.
But I was like, so you kind of, by the time you were 8, you were kind of just chunky?
Yeah.
As a kid? Yeah.
Yeah, I was fat,
Right.
I remember, because I was made fun of a lot.
That was my junior high, dude.
Oh, it was? Okay.
So, I was, just a skinny kid, and then junior high, like I said, we were, rocking Super Nintendo and then Nintendo 64, eating pizza rolls, like
Tostino's pizza rolls.
Yeah, just all the shit, like when your parents would go out and then you and your buddies would get together, like, and it'd be like watching whatever, wrestling tapes and then by the time I was in high school, I was like tall and skinny again.
Okay.
But so I had a couple years where it was pretty...
So you grew into it.
Eventually, but yeah, there was a few years too where it was like, oh no, like, okay, so let's go back to your story. So it wasn't fun.
No, I mean, yeah, I was, the kid that got made fun of.
Right. You think that's why you're so nice now? Because you remember that shit?
Yeah, I think so.
Right.
But there was a time where it kind of transitioned. So the way that it worked out is I got a lot of heat from my cousins, and I didn't really get a lot of protection from my parents. I would remember telling them, hey, cousins are making fun of me,
Right.
What's up with this? Or I would ask for their help. I would, tattletale.
That they were like making fun of you and stuff?
Yeah. And
your cousins were doing it?
My cousins were, yeah. A couple of them, not all of them.
That's ruthless.
It was pretty bad. I remember just having boobs as a kid.
Yeah.
And they would come up behind me and just
grab them? No way, dude.
Oh, man, I laugh about it now. But...
So that kid's name was Seth Carroll. That's who that was.
Okay.
And he's a power lifter. And he had it so much where he had all the skin removed and stuff.
Yeah, which is, I'm lucky I didn't have that. I mean, I did have a lot of loose skin.
But not anymore.
I mean, it's still there. I notice it.
But when you get lean, it's gone.
For the most part. Yeah, for the most part.
But so your cousins are doing this shit to you, bro?
They were, growing up as a kid, a couple people at school.
Okay.
But I just hung out with the other fat kids, so we were just fat together,
Which had to be kind of fun.
It wasn't bad.
It's like back to the pizza rolls.
Hey, I got this funny story. We had a talent show, and I think we did some Vanilla Ice or MC Hammer song.
Yeah,
and
Ice Baby or something.
And it's three of us fat kids just dancing.
Dude, that's so dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all right. I mean, shit, my friends are all different levels of, not, most of my buddies, like, back home, they're not, like, in, like, tremendous shape or anything.
Hey, as you get older,
they got other priorities, like raising family. Not like they're in bad shape or anything. Even watch their food and stuff. But they kind of know where they stand. Like, they know they're not like those delusional people. Mm-hmm. Like, they know what's healthy or not. They just, like, I don't have time for that and I don't give a shit,
Do you have friends, just a question, do you have friends that are cynical about you being fit?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, or they'll just, like, ask you stuff, but they don't like the actual answers.
Yep.
Like, they want to have their cake and eat it too, kind of thing, where it's like, they want a magic answer, but there is no magic answer.
Yeah,
the answer is calorie deficit and, like, eating very healthy and working out very, very hard.
It's the same answer.
It doesn't matter if you're natural, not natural. It doesn't matter what supplements you're on. The answer is, like, working really hard and then not eating too much and eating the right stuff that's going to, that's all it is. But it's so, and I do find a lot of them will get, like, delusional about, like, well, I think I have, like, a thyroid problem. It's like, no, I've seen what you eat. You don't have a thyroid problem, bro. Like, I know what you're doing. You're drinking beer, you're eating this. Like, it's cool if you want to do that and it's fun and I don't have anything against it, but, like, the body is an outcome of an input. It's just like a math problem. So, like, the outcome of the body, how it looks, is going to be the sum of the inputs you're putting into it. Mm-hmm. They don't understand it like that. They don't think of it like that.
It's super simple, right?
Right. Well, and I think sometimes they see, like, really super fit people do stuff like have some cocktails or, like, eat a pizza, but they don't realize, like, that 90% of the other time they're probably, or maybe just genetically they have a little advantage, but even that I think is kind of bullshit sometimes.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, because I feel like, genetically maybe they have better genes, but I bet they're, like, still just not eating as much, and they're not, like, you only see, like, the fun thing. You're like, man, I wish I could be like that guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of dudes do that, I feel like.
Yeah, I can tell you that most people, I mean, no matter how genetically gifted you are, there's no way you can get there without a good diet.
Yeah, you could be super genetically gifted and eventually you're going to, like, if you're eating like shit, it's going to catch up with you.
Yeah, maybe there's those one or two people out of a million.
Yeah.
You know, that really can eat whatever.
Well, it's
they
always
want.
like when you see The Rock and you're like, I'm just trying to be like The Rock eating those cheat meals. It's like, yeah, but you don't know like 90% of the time he's like waking up every morning doing empty stomach cardio, just like killing it in the gym.
Literally.
Yeah, he
4 in the
earns
morning,
those cheat
yeah.
meals. It's like, come on, man, you know, like. But yeah, that's interesting. So after that stage of your life, was like the bullying something that actually got you more passionate about trying to change it, or was that something?
No, not at all.
No, it was
man.
your own thing.
Man, I just got in my head. I remember crying myself to sleep.
Damn,
like,
dude.
I remember literally wishing. I remember seeing the movie Aladdin, right, when I was a
Yeah.
kid. And wishing I had a lamp. And one of my 3 wishes would be to be fit.
Just not fat.
yeah, just not fat, you know?
Damn,
And,
dude.
You know, somewhere around junior high school, I started to get taller, you know, started evening out a little
And
bit.
you're probably going through puberty a little bit, so becoming more, you know, you have
Sure.
more, you know, like testosterone in your system, maybe, you know, growing a little bit. Because that's usually where it kind of like starts to change a little bit for people, but.
Yeah, and it did. But the thing is I wasn't working out, right?
Right.
So even then,
Yep,
I was just pudgy still.
Okay.
You know, maybe you wouldn't be able to tell with my clothes on.
Right.
You know, and then sometime after high school, you know, all I did was just fucking drink and smoke weed. And,
Really?
oh yeah,
Dude.
I mean, that's all I did: party,
Yeah.
smoke, drink, and
I'm just not into that stuff anymore either.
Yeah.
But I did just have that cigar outside. I don't know why. I was like, man, it's raining out. It's nice out. Like, I'm like, I'm just gonna smoke this cheap cigar. I had it like laying around.
what was it? A Black and Mild?
It's like I think it's a. I do love Black and Milds. You ever watch like Shannon Sharp?
oh yeah,
He's like, I got that Black and Mild, that cream right there. You know, he does that voice and shit. It's so funny, dude.
yeah.
He's got the Henny. I think it was like a Backwoods.
Oh,
Honestly.
yeah. You know what? Those are
Those cheap gas
Yeah.
station cigars,
Yep.
bro.
I can see the box too. You know.
Oh yeah, but so you were, in what age were you? Like, was this after high school, college-ish years?
Yeah, I mean,
Partying, drinking.
I got into partying pretty early in my life.
Right.
You know, I'm not going to share too much about it, but it's
Yeah.
not like my parents didn't condone it, but they actually didn't stop me either.
Well, right. Maybe they party too. They were like,
No, well, not really. My mom doesn't drink.
Okay.
You know, she never has.
Yeah.
I've maybe seen her take 4 sips of alcohol in my whole entire life.
Right.
You know.
Okay.
And it's literally like taking the glass.
It's like at a party or something.
and then it would just be the liquid touching her lips, and then she'd pull it away really quick and say, "Ooh, I'm woozy."
Shit, that's it. Yeah, I mean, shit. My mom, she doesn't drink either much. Like, she'll like have a few cocktails at a, you know, it's like all the, you know, the get-togethers or like party, someone's birthday, go out to the bar. Never has that much.
Yeah,
You know.
didn't get out of control.
Yeah.
Now my dad, on the other hand, that was a different story.
My dad can drink.
Yeah.
He still does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like not in a sense of like, I mean, he's pretty responsible dude in general, but like he can have like a tumbler with ice and a mixed drink and he's just happy, you know? Like,
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, it was a different time back then too. You have to
Right.
understand that, right? I mean, we're talking, you know, if you grew up and were born in the 40s or 50s, you know,
Oh, yeah, dude.
these guys once they can drink, you know, I mean, they were drinking on the job.
Well, and they didn't know all the stuff we know now.
Exactly.
Like people would get into trouble like drinking or doing things and they didn't have all these resources of like seeing all these people have done it and like there wasn't all this like, you know, how to like get out of this stuff. Like people just like kind of did stuff and fell into things. There wasn't a lot of like support for, you know, I feel like now we have so much like you can look everything up on the internet.
Yeah, it's
So-
almost to a fault.
Well, yeah. So like, even like you talk about like musicians, like before Elvis, there was no like blueprint for that either. You know what I mean? So people would just go out and get in trouble and like, yeah, I don't know. That's crazy though. Yeah. But even when you and I were younger, like that's what you did. You went to college and you like just drank and partied.
Yeah.
That's like all anybody did.
I mean, it was almost a prerequisite.
Like it wasn't even, you didn't even think there was an option not to do that. You know, like. That's what I always say about growing up in a small town. It's like, because I'm not really much of a drinker now. I mean, I have these whiskeys and stuff, but I really don't drink, you know? It's like, when I was a kid, I didn't even realize not drinking was like a
An
choice.
option.
It's like everybody around me in my small town, that's what they do. The adults all get drunk.
Yeah.
Like that's what they do, like to hang out. I'm like, wait, I could just not do that? I had no idea,
Absolutely.
Till I got into health and fitness,
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, or grew up in our era.
Yeah, well now kids I feel like they know more of that stuff now. So when you were drinking and partying, was there a specific moment that happened or anything where you kind of a switch flipped, or was it a slow process of knowing you needed to change? Or
No, so I was still partying when I lost the weight. So what? Yeah, there was a switch. There was.
you're like, now I'm gonna party and I'm gonna look sexy. Yeah, it's like
Yeah. So what ended up happening was, when I was 23, I had gotten my son's mom pregnant.
ooh,
Or sorry, when I was 22.
yep,
So he was born when I was 23 in 2005. So I remember somewhere around the time when he was about, I think, 2 years old, I was just having so much trouble bending down. Because, you got a baby.
right,
It's constant bending over, playing on the floor.
yeah,
And I could just feel myself. And by the way, I didn't mention this. So at 23, I got up to about 267 pounds.
holy shit,
Yeah. And mind you, this is 267 never working out a day in your life.
right? Because I was gonna say I've been 260 before, but it was like in my wrestling days, and I wasn't necessarily lean, but I was big for wrestling.
Sure.
So
And
like,
you were still active, though, right?
yeah. So that's a different. Yeah.
So I was just feeling it, and I just remember thinking, and I was smoking cigarettes at that time, too. And I just thought to myself, I don't want to have this be an example to my son.
Right.
So a couple coworkers of mine decided that they wanted to join this boot camp at LA or at Bally's Total Fitness.
Yeah.
You know what LA Fitness used to be.
Right.
There's this trainer by the name of Anthony Scott Hollis. So I always got to shout him out because
Okay. Yeah.
that guy changed my life. He's a carpenter now. But yeah, Jack, black dude, just shredded, dreadlocks.
Yeah.
And
Isn't that crazy? One guy can just like make such an impact on you like that.
absolutely.
Right.
I mean, and it was crazy because, we did take the progress pictures, and after about 7 months, I had dropped about 80 pounds.
Right.
7-8 months, about 80 pounds.
And what were you doing at that time that started getting the weight off? Just kind of getting active.
Yeah, I mean, my nutrition wasn't really on point. So for the first couple months, it was more of like, hey, I'm working out, but I'm still going to eat whatever I want.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I noticed like very little weight loss, and I noticed like, oh, look, I have muscle.
Yeah.
Even though if I look back, I'd probably think
You would be
don't have
horrified.
muscle.
Yeah. But it's like, but then it was progress, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then after I saw that progress, I think it was about 10 pounds in about 2 months that I lost. Had some muscle on myself. Man, I'll tell you, the first time I ever worked out, though, I was so sore
Yeah. I bet.
that I didn't think that I'd ever work out again because I almost went to the hospital. I'm like,
You couldn't even move.
I couldn't move. I
Right.
couldn't stretch.
Dude,
And-
it's painful if you haven't done it. It's like, yeah, I mean, people try to jump, especially if I've seen people that have egos too.
Yeah.
Like this one dude came and lifted with me once years ago, and I remember they were even telling him like, be careful. And I'm like, yeah, dude, like you just need to take this really slow, get the movements down with lightweight. But he's like, oh, I can do that, and he was like dead. I'm like, next day he couldn't even walk. His back was like fucked up. I'm like, dude, you can't do that.
Yeah.
But so how long did it take you before you stopped being like sore like that, and then you got used to the soreness probably?
I mean, it was probably after a couple weeks.
Yeah, you're like, okay.
I
Yeah.
mean, because nothing compared to that first time that I was.
And that
sore.
first time, was that like one of those boot camp things? Did he like
Yeah, so
really push you?
it was myself, this guy named Derek, and another friend by the name of Willie Hudson, and they were two bigger black dudes, and then I was just this big Asian dude, and we just did this boot camp. I remember I couldn't even bench press the bar.
Yeah.
That's how weak I was.
Yeah, dude.
Here
That's
I am,
wild.
267, couldn't even bench press 50 pounds.
That's amazing. Now you
Yeah.
got a sword, bro. That's a crazy story.
Yeah, and I think part of what got me going was not only the progress, but that competitive mentality or the competitive nature of being in a boot camp.
When you had these other guys working really hard that you kind of looked up to.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to let them see me be weak, so I'm gonna push myself.
So yeah, they gave me accountability, and then another thing, not only the accountability, but they gave me something to strive for to be better than.
Yeah.
Because I saw them and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna smoke them.
Yeah. That's amazing, dude.
Yeah. So I remember Derek dropped off, and then Willie kind of dropped off, and I just kept on going.
Isn't that weird? We have the competitive, like, it's in all humans.
It's natural.
Even the ones that don't think they have it, it's actually in there.
Never thought I had it, really.
Right. Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah, so I lost it, and then Anthony, the trainer, he had put my picture at the front door of Bally's Total Fitness.
Yeah.
And he had done the 6-month progression.
Mm-hmm.
And...
Were you hooked after that, kind of?
Oh, yeah, because now I had an image to live up to because there's a poster of me.
I think that's important, actually.
100%.
Yeah, even like that dude David Goggins, that runner, he was talking about that, like, just the idea of David Goggins keeps him, like, because he knows that he's that to all these people. Mm-hmm. And I think that, too, sometimes. Like, I don't think that's a bad thing.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Just as long as you don't let your ego get...
Right, where you're starting to hurt yourself because it's like, well, I got to be this, you know, like...
Yeah, or just...
Or being an asshole to people because
exactly.
I'm this guy on the wall type of thing. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Right, you got to keep that ego in check.
Mm-hmm. And it's alive and well, and, I'll only speak for myself. It's alive and well in me. I got to check it every morning.
Yeah. Dude, I think it's a good thing to have one, but also a good thing to be, you're so humble and kind to people. I think that's like a big part of, like, I don't know, trying to do the things you do, and if you're trying to be any kind of role model to people, you have to remember that part too sometimes. Because it's like, being the hard ass is one thing, but like also being kind to people, it's like, I don't know, we talked about that last time. It's like, it's such an important thing in life,
Absolutely. I mean, here's the thing. It doesn't serve anyone
right
to not be kind.
Yeah.
Here's what I know about myself. Let's say, you do something that offends me, whether it's cutting in front of me in a line, whether it's cutting me off in traffic.
Yeah.
Right? And
yeah.
I get pissed off and I yell at you.
Yeah.
Maybe momentarily that might feel good for myself.
Yeah.
But after
for a second.
But even though afterwards, it doesn't really make me feel better.
No, later you're gonna be driving and be like, God, I was a dick back there.
Yeah, or it's just like, no, do you really like yourself, or do I really like myself when I'm being that way? And then all of a sudden, like, how do I feel about putting someone else down? Right.
You're not gonna feel good about it later, probably.
It's like an argument, right? We all get in them, unfortunately, but no one wins in them.
No.
Even if you're right.
You're usually not in a good place when you're doing that either. You're like either frustrated or, like, that's when you make those kind of decisions to say those kind of things. Like, so yeah, it's hard. Sometimes you got to, like, just take a deep breath and be like, okay, I'm going to wait. And then decide what you're going to say. You know what I mean?
Pause when agitated.
Right. Oh, dude, I know. Even at work, like, because I do bartending, so
bartender.
Yeah, I've had to, work on that over the years because I've definitely been in a place where sometimes people that haven't had, like, a lot of hard things happen to them in life they're kind of, used to being treated a certain way, and they can be hard to wait on, and it's like, they'll make really big deals out of things that you're just like, that is not a big deal. Like, you could be starving somewhere, like, in a different country, or, like, and you're complaining about, like, we're out of this sauce today, and it's ruining your life, and it's
be
like,
entitled.
Like, how sad is your life that you're, like, the biggest problem is that this some place is out of a sauce, like.
I mean, it's sad, but at the same time, right, that's just how they were brought up.
Right. That's what I think, too. Like, I used to get mad about it, and I'm like, it doesn't really help me. It doesn't change anything in them. And also, it's just all they know. It's not even like, they're not trying to be, probably trying to be an asshole.
Yeah.
It's just all they know.
And I always have to humble myself.
Right.
And I like the definition of humility, which is not thinking of yourself as less, but thinking of yourself less.
Right.
And it's not always all about me,
Mm-hmm.
but I know this, I've had in my life, in my own circumstances, life experiences, where I did the best I could with the tools and resources that I had up until that moment, how I
Yeah.
grew up, with the family I grew up with,
Yes.
and thought I was maybe acting appropriately. But now that I look back at it, man, I was just like, man,
Right.
what?
They even say that stuff like about survival mode. Like when people are in survival mode, like they'll look back. When you're in a healthier spot in life, you look back, but it's like at that point in your life, that was all the only tool, like you said, the tools that you knew how to deal with that. So if you had something like growing up with certain ideas about things because of how you were raised in your family, and then you start realizing that, oh, some of the shit in your own family is kind of toxic, and you're like, oh, but I didn't know that back then, so I was doing the same kind of patterns, and eventually you kind of look back and you're like, oh, okay, now I kind of see what I was doing wrong, and we still have that. I'm
Oh yeah.
sure we still have a long way to go.
Oh,
Like,
it's constant evolution of ourselves.
right.
And it's I do a lot of reading. I'm reading this book called "It Didn't Start with You."
Okay.
By, I think his name is Mark Wolin.
Yeah.
If you read, or if anyone listening to this reads, I highly recommend that book.
It didn't start with you.
It didn't start with you. So it talks about family trauma,
Mm-hmm.
right, or your own trauma. I mean,
Right.
we develop traumas all the way from the time that we're born
Yes.
to the present moment, right?
Mhm.
And the definition of a trauma, we think it's the significant moment, right? And it's not. It's actually something that happens that we don't know how to respond to.
Yep.
So all of these little things create these triggers inside of us.
Yeah.
And what I was reading in this book, which is trippy, and I'll just preface it with we're all fucked
Yeah.
because the it explains that trauma goes back to 3 generations. So something that your great grandfather or great grandmother experienced
Yeah.
as a trauma, there's something called hereditary trauma where you can actually
Yeah.
inherit those traumas.
Right. Right.
So there was this study done where they had a subject smell cherry blossoms and they would shock it every time it would smell cherry blossoms. Okay. Then the offspring, 3 generations later.
They did this to people.
No, not to people.
Okay. Okay. I was gonna say so like animal study.
They did it. It's an animal study. And
Okay,
It's
okay.
an animal that's very close to human.
But the trauma was passed down not from teaching, genetically.
Genetically and hereditary. So this
Yeah.
great grand offspring of this, so this person or this subject that would get shocked after they'd smelled cherry blossoms. Okay, now here we have 3 generations later, this subject that hasn't experienced the shocking of or anything, but
Right.
when they smelled cherry blossoms, they had the same chemical reactions in their brain and stress
Right.
levels. And sad because they wouldn't know that.
Yeah.
So if there's things that maybe, hey, I get really uncomfortable during these moments,
Yeah.
it could be hereditary trauma.
Right. Dude, that is wild because if you think about that, that's why like when we're kids we have like nightmares about like monsters with teeth and stuff because it's probably like in all of us from like big cats, wolves, all the stuff that used to eat us when we used to live out on the plains.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to like be told to be scared of like a wolf, right? Like we would just know. It's like so that's so weird that stuff can be passed down not from just by teaching but in your genes. But you're right. Like even stuff I think of in our families where it's like I wouldn't even consider like my family unhealthy or anything, but there are certain like things they have that are unhealthy. Like, I mean, they're just a regular family, but it's like there's still things that'll kind of trip you up if you're not able to like deal with them. And it's like you have to know that those things are not or don't let them affect you. Like I really like that idea of you can like decide who you are like every single day and make changes. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like I mean, it's hard because
I
it's
mean-
in there. It's in there.
It's possible,
Yeah.
but again, this goes into the human psyche, right? There are some people, sad to say, that, at times it's almost virtually impossible for someone to create that for themselves because of the way that
Yeah.
they were what word am I looking for?
Well, raised or...
Yeah, raised, or the way that they're wired, you know?
Right, because some of it's just wiring, like you said. It's not
Mm-hmm.
even... They even say that with, like, serial killers and stuff. Like, they're just kind of born like that. A lot of
Yeah.
them.
So these are, yeah, and I really like that phrase of, we're wired a certain way. So, through these experiences, not even traumas, just experiences, we
Right.
create these wires and these neural pathways, right?
Yes.
And that's why we continuously experience the same things,
Patterns.
right? Same patterns of behavior.
Do you have to, like, consciously keep an eye on your patterns?
Oh, 100%. And
I do too, man. Big
yeah.
time. I have a big one of wanting to self-destruct, especially when things are going good. Like, I don't know.
Self-sabotage?
Yeah, kind of. Like, I'm like, ooh, I just kind of want to, like, mess this up, like a little bit. Or it's like kind of like, I don't know, dude. It's always in there for
Yeah.
sure. I think it helps me a little bit with, like, creative stuff. But it's like, I mean, now I'm a lot better about it.
I mean, that's good. It means you're growing, right?
Right, but it's always kind of there. I think a lot of people have that too. It's
it
more
resonates
comfortable
with
to
me.
be a loser. You know what I'm saying? There's less pressure.
Oh, yeah.
You start having more responsibilities, more pressure. You're like, man, if I could just fuck all this up and I can just go hang out and, watch Netflix every day, like not do the stuff that I have to do if I want to maintain this level of, like, output that I'm putting out, like.
Yeah, I understand that. Part of that is because when you're leveling up on a higher plane, right?
Yeah.
The goal is to always be better than yesterday or be better
Right.
than you were.
Right.
Right? So when you keep on progressing and keep on progressing, it's like sometimes there's that standstill and we're uncomfortable with that standstill.
Yeah, yeah.
Or when it feels like we might be going backwards when we should be moving forward.
That can get frustrating.
Mm-hmm. So then we sometimes people self-destruct and cause themselves to kind of
Go down.
To go down. Yeah. You know what? I'm going to purposely lower myself by doing something that doesn't align with what I
know
want
I
to
shouldn't
do.
be doing this, but yeah. Well, yeah, I even think that too. It's like, I don't know. It's more comfortable sometimes to not try to achieve stuff, and like, but it's like, do you believe in kind of that vibration stuff even
Absolutely,
too?
yeah.
I'm like kind of a big believer in that because like when I'm doing well, I can tell my vibe is good.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is like, if you are trying to achieve things, I think you're right. Like sometimes people will do where they start, it's kind of where you have to practice gratitude for where you are. Because then you start being like, man, I should have this. People should be thinking this about me. Or why haven't I gotten this far yet? And then you start kind of turning into this like ungrateful person. Then people can feed off that. And like, well, I don't want to give this guy attention. He's like, he thinks he deserves all this and this and this, like.
I mean, even if you don't, like, I get it. The vibrating at a lower frequency.
It's a lower frequency
and
vibe.
That's all scientifically proven,
I believe in that stuff.
So,
big time, dude.
Just like the hereditary traumas, that's all scientifically proven through studies. Now,
Yeah.
I'll probably, I mean, it's been about 4.5 months, but about 4.5 months ago, I was in the deepest, darkest place of my life.
4.5 months?
Yeah, 4.5 months ago. And then probably, I mean, every day for about 3 months. Like, and I'm going to get really vulnerable on this podcast. But,
dude, I'm happy about that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I was ugly crying like all day, every day.
I've done that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I still practiced gratitude. I still got on my knees every morning, prayed all day. Didn't just do it, hey, I'm so robotic. No, I really made a conscious effort to connect. I was still making a conscious effort to be of service to other people that needed help. But there was something, inside me that I almost had an imposter syndrome. Because reality is I wanted to fucking die.
Yeah.
Like, that's that's really where I was at.
Right.
You know? And it was really dark. And there was this point where I was actually going online and I was looking at like weapons and, you know,
man.
yeah, it was pretty
Yeah.
bad. It was pretty bad. And, you know, luckily I ended up getting some help without going too far into it, but I ended up getting some help. I reached out to some people, you know, out in the open.
Yeah.
Because depression, it's a really hard thing for people to understand unless they've really been through it.
Right. And
You know?
it's probably hard to understand at different levels.
Yeah.
Because some people get like depressed, but not like that.
Sure.
That's
Yep.
a different level. You know what I'm saying? Like they're just like depressed. Like I think there's different levels.
Yeah, there is. There absolutely is. And, you know, it's funny because there are people out there that say, you know, the gratitude comment, right? So
Yeah.
I know you weren't directing that towards
Oh,
me
no,
or
no, no,
anything,
no.
Yeah. But if you say, you know, well, there's just so much more, so much you should be grateful for. You know, there's
Yeah.
people out there that have no legs or have no arms or,
Right.
you know, have deformities or have illnesses, like life-threatening illnesses, or don't have family, don't, you know, like you should be thankful, you know.
Oh, you
And-
don't want to say that to someone depressed.
You
That's like
definitely
stuff
don't.
I say to myself when I'm
Yeah.
being a pussy.
Yep,
You know, that's
yeah.
what, but I wouldn't say that to somebody else. You know, like
and so, you know, and then that begins the other cycle. And someone who's depressed, they're gonna say, oh, okay, well,
so now I'm even more of a
so
piece
I'm
of
not,
shit.
I'm more
Yeah.
of a piece of shit because I can't be grateful. I'm trying to be, but I'm not.
Yeah.
And then it's just this cycle of a downward spiral.
Because then you're like, oh, I guess I am weak. Oh, I'm a piece of shit. God, and then it just puts you even further.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's funny because, you know, every time I look back at my life, things have always worked out. No matter what spot I was in,
Right.
right?
Life's weird like that.
Life's weird. It always works out. Have you heard of that parable of the Chinese farmer before?
No, but tell me.
Okay. I think I may have shared this recently, but yeah, so if you look it up on YouTube, there's a ton of videos out there, but so there's this Chinese farmer
Yep.
and he's got this horse that runs away one day, and it's his only horse. And the neighbors come up to him and they say, "Oh, we're so sorry. What a terrible thing." And he looks at everyone and he says, "Well, maybe." And a couple days later, the horse actually returns, and it returns with 7 wild horses.
Yeah.
So everyone's like, "Oh, that's great. Congratulations." He's like, "That's such an awesome thing," or whatever. Looks at everyone, says, "Maybe."
Yeah.
Well, one day, his son is training one of these wild horses, gets bucked off, breaks his leg. You
Yeah.
can probably guess everyone comes up to the farmer and they say, "How terrible." And he looks at everyone and he says, "Maybe."
Yeah, he throws him another maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 2 weeks later, there was a war that had broken out, and, you know, they're going around to each house and recruiting the young for the army. And
His son don't have to go.
his son was rejected because of the broken leg. So the moral of the story is that the only reason we're depressed is because things aren't happening in the way that we would want them to, right?
Yeah.
I kind of heard, now whether you believe in God or not, I'm not using God in a religious term, okay?
Right.
Like, I'm kind of in that belief that, you know, whatever higher power it is, right? God is almost too big to fit into one religion, right? He's
right.
infinite,
Right.
or whatever you believe.
Whatever
in.
God is.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And, gosh, where was I going with this? But,
You said the
oh yeah, the depression.
parable. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I heard once a guy say, "You know what depression is, right?" And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Depression is when God isn't doing your will.
Yeah.
Because you're unhappy with your own circumstances, right? Because it's not going the way that you want." But the
Right.
reality is, you know, if we were to look at that story in that parable of the Chinese farmer, okay, loses a horse, bad, right?
Yeah.
When in actuality, it was good because he got 7 horses.
It brought more back. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, son breaks his leg, bad. But no, it was actually good, right? So
Yeah.
we never actually know.
What's coming next?
Yeah, and I've heard this a lot, that life is life is lived forward but understood backwards.
Yeah.
You know?
No, that's even like in a Megadeth song, dude.
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
yeah.
I'm glad you brought that
It's like
up.
life can only be understood in reverse, but must be lived forward. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird, yeah.
So, in the essence of things is even though I know things are technically going to work out, when you're stuck in those dark places,
You just can't get out.
it's terrible.
I've like thought of it as like a pit where you're just trying to climb out, but you just can't get out. Like you're climbing and climbing and climbing, but it's just like no matter what you do,
traction.
there's just you keep falling down. The dirt keeps sliding. There's nothing you can do. Like it is weird because I haven't been in a spot like that for a long time. I've been in those spots too, and you're right. It's weird how or something will happen in your life where you think it's all this, and then something like maybe you're like short on money, and then all of a sudden like you get a raise, and you get this happen and this happen. You're like, oh, okay, now I'm fine. Mm-hmm. Or like I don't know what I'm gonna do about this, and then pretty soon like you said, God or the universe presents it to you, and it all makes total sense when it's like the answer comes. You're like, oh, now I'm fine. It's like, but so you just got to have faith that those things will keep working out, I guess.
Yeah, and what helped me the most was not being in isolation, right?
Being around people, friends.
Being around people and outing myself. So I've never really talked about mental health on a public platform before.
Yeah.
And I just recently started being more open about it.
I think it's good because I'll have people on here and they're so scared about being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Even that kid doing his Seth talking about his weight loss as a kid. Mm-hmm. I thought that was super brave for someone his age, 17, and like, because at that age you're so worried about what people think about you and everything.
Hey, it doesn't stop either.
Right, and his dad even sent a message like, "Oh, that was so cool seeing him on." Like he was really proud of his son. I'm like, you should be proud of him. That's pretty cool.
Absolutely, I'm proud of him.
Yeah.
I don't even know him.
Well, that's what I mean. Like when I was his age, I couldn't be that vulnerable. Be like, leave me alone. I don't care about anything. Fuck it. Like you're so worried about showing like any kind of feelings or emotion. And,
Yeah, no, I was full of ego at that age. And
right? It's hard.
Man, that's when I was playing music a lot.
We should talk about that, man.
You want to talk about it?
Yeah, so what, because you had kind of like, the same stuff I do in a sense, don't you? Like you like some of that sound, like that grunge stuff and that emo stuff. Like,
man, I love
that era. I listen to a lot of new stuff too now, but that era was always cool.
I get around when it comes to music. I don't discriminate against any style technically.
Right.
But, growing up, I remember just being so into Pearl Jam and Nirvana. When I lived in Southern California, I was living in Los Angeles County. Yeah. That's where I was born. That's where I grew up.
Right.
And we grew up in a very gang-infested, like, Hispanic neighborhood.
Okay.
And even my cousins, were Filipino, technically Pacific Islander or Asian. Right. I don't mind saying Asian. Yeah. And everyone was listening to rap or R&B. Yeah. And here I was thinking, man, all I want is a blue truck, and I just want to rock out to, Pearl Jam and Bush and like, all of these grunge bands in the 90s and surf and, skateboard, and everyone just thought of me as the black sheep.
Well, so it's like out of it's like stereotype. It'd be like a black dude who's into like heavy metal, like Slayer.
Yeah, exactly.
And it happens all the time, but it's
does.
It's like, what are you talking about? Like you're supposed to like rap if you're black. You're supposed to like, if you're a skinhead, you're supposed to like Slayer. If you're like,
so fucking
and it's kind of dumb. Yeah. It's like everybody likes a little bit of everything. Mm-hmm. Like there's a comedian, Chappelle Lacey. I don't know if you know that dude. But he's like big, like he does this rock band, like he's big into like, and he talked about that growing up black where like everybody thought I was supposed to be into this, and he likes like, I don't know, like Oasis or like all, and he's in a band and he sings this kind of music, and it's like, it's like do what you love, who cares? It's like,
It's funny because whenever I'm at the gym, people, I'll tell people what I'm listening to sometimes, and they're like, you listen to that?
Yeah, they're like surprised.
Yeah.
Well, it'd be like telling Eminem not to rap. It's like, yeah, of course he can rap, dude. Yep. Come on.
Yeah, so Yeah, anyways, to answer your question, yeah, I definitely, so when I moved from California to Seattle, it was awesome
Was it
because,
kind of like, oh, I'm going to Seattle, where all that music's from?
man, I moved here the year that Kurt Cobain died.
Oh,
Or
holy
wait, when
shit.
did he die? 92.
94.
94? Yeah, that's
So
right.
you were here a couple years before?
No, I came here in 94.
Oh, 94. Yeah, that's when he died.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That was crazy.
Yeah. So, which was really sad to me because I'm like, I finally get to go see Nirvana, you know?
It's so weird because I don't think anybody's ever changed music as much as that guy. Which is so weird because it's like music, music's changed still, but nothing's impacted it to that level.
Oh, man.
Like, you know how many 80s hair bands went broke after that? Or like, even like, I was watching this thing about like Motley Crue trying to like change after that, like
Yeah.
change their style, and like, he just affected everybody.
What I'm so surprised is that they were so unique that there was no bands that sounded like Nirvana.
There really wasn't.
I mean, here's the thing. If you look at the bands of the 90s grunge era, they were also original. No one sounds like Soundgarden. No one sounds like STP. No one sounds
And
like
then all the
Nirvana.
late 90s ones sucked. 'Cause
Yeah.
they were just like, they didn't know what to do after
Yeah.
that. I mean,
Yeah.
I thought they did anyway, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple good ones out there, but no, I don't.
You're right. Soundgarden's so unique. Alice in Chains. They
Alice in
all
Chains.
kind of had a similar thing, but all of them were so different. Like Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, even Stone Temple Pilots. They were in there. They were in there at the good time.
Yeah, they were. And,
Yeah,
you had,
nobody sounds like Nirvana.
no one does. I mean, you had, like, Billy Corgan with Smashing Pumpkins.
Oh, he's a big one too. Big
Yeah.
hitter there.
Yeah. I remember, man, I when I moved here, I'm like, I bought a Guitar World magazine.
Yeah. That stuff was so cool
Dude,
back
it
then,
was
dude.
so cool. No one
Like
buys
people
magazines.
forget about like how rock stars were a different thing back then. Like it was like different, man.
It was, there was, you had to have the whole package,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, I've had to get some of that stuff out of my head, like stuff I still think about music, like, because it's like, I mean, I can't stay in that headspace forever. Like, I have to grow up at some point.
No, fuck it.
Like
Just
fuck,
stay-
fuck the man, fuck authority. You know what I'm saying? Like, because that's what music used to be about.
Oh, yeah?
Like, it used to be about like,
There's an image.
I was watching this thing. One of my favorite moments is, it was like around the time like 1996-ish, I think, when like, Metallica went through what they called their sellout era where everybody didn't like them. But I loved it because to me it just sounded like...
You mean when they came out with Load?
Yeah, Load and Reload.
Yeah.
Those are like my two favorite Metallica
I loved
albums.
them. I loved them.
Well, because to me it's like Metallica with being kind of influenced by like Alice in Chains or like that kind of style that was out then. But one of the coolest things was like they went... It was like MTV Video Awards or some kind of awards show in Europe. It was overseas. And they were on the MTV show, and they were supposed to play King Nothing, which was one of their new...
Crown King Nothing.
Yeah, King Nothing. Yeah. And they're supposed to play that, but, like, they still had that, like, rebellious spirit. So, like, they ended up, like, I guess... And if you watch the video, like, Hetfield looks like he's possessed by the devil in it. Because he's just... You can tell he's like, yeah, we're saying fuck you to everybody. Because, like, they're supposed to play this song. The radio... the record company wanted them to... They played Last Caress and So What. So Last Caress is a Misfits song, and So What is this old punk. But both songs are filthy.
Okay.
I mean, the lyrics are filthy.
So they were punk. They played
It's like
punk rock
it's
songs.
like yeah, they played this punk song. It's like I fucked the sheep and I fucked the goat. I ran my cock right down his throat. So what? That's the song. Like these are the lyrics.
There's nothing filthy about that.
They played that on TV, and obviously MTV never aired it again. But they kind of got to get the fuck you out there. And Nirvana used to do shit like that too. Like they'd be like, you have to go lip sync to this song, and Kurt Cobain like went out there and he was like singing like a lounge act, and he like stuck the mic in his mouth. Like it's kind of just that stuff of like making a mockery of like stuff that's silly.
Oh man, I remember seeing Filter play like a swimsuit, Sports Illustrated swimsuit.
Yeah, yeah.
And he came out wrapped in toilet paper.
Right. There's
and, and he had lipstick written on his little toilet paper mummy outfit, and it says you can't put lipstick on a pig or something.
Oh my god,
and just,
dude.
with the bottle of Jack Daniels.
Well, that's what rock music is supposed to do.
Yeah.
Like if you get to a point where rock music is like corporate and it's It's like, no, the whole idea of rock is like saying fuck you to the establishment, to the authorities. Like, I don't know, dude. So I like that spirit.
I miss those days.
Yeah, rock was more important when it was doing that, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it was like social commentary, you know. I'm not saying everybody should be doing that
Yeah.
stuff, but that's what rock is supposed to be,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, you know, if you think I just need to bring this up, not because it's really relevant. It kind of is because we're talking about that style of music, but
Right.
partly because you kind of remind me. When you sing, you kind of have you have that Eddie Vedder timbre to your voice.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know,
Yeah.
that's why, like, when you were posting songs on IG for a
Yellow
little bit,
Ledbetter, yeah.
I'm like, yeah. Did I say
Well,
that?
you know,
Or,
people used to make fun of me. Like, they'd be like, he thinks he's Eddie Vedder. And so, like, when I'd sing, and then other people just love. So, when I used to have bands, like, that would be the thing. Like, because my one girlfriend told me that. Like, oh, people were like, oh, he thinks he's Eddie Vedder. Like, it's just people talking shit.
Yeah.
It's because, like, if you're talented, you know, it's that thing about somebody being jealous or whatever.
Absolutely.
But it's like, yeah, my favorites were, like, Chris Cornell, Eddie Vedder. I love Dave Mustaine from Megadeth, and I love James Hetfield. Like, those are, like, so of course, like, that's where I'm going to draw from. But for some reason, that's who my voice closely sounds like the most is Eddie Vedder. So it's like, yeah.
And that's technically what everyone does.
Well, that's what he was doing. He was
Yeah.
going out and trying to kind of sound like the Doors, you know, Jim Morrison. Like, that's, you kind of always sound like the people.
But that you're heaviest influenced by.
And then eventually you find your own voice. It starts becoming its own thing.
Yeah.
You know? So I think that's what all bands do.
Yeah. But Eddie Vedder, back in the 90s, when he was in his prime, when he would climb up the rafters, hang upside down from like a 30-foot rafter. Or like the
Greatest of all time, dude.
Oh my gosh.
When he was back in like that 92 Eddie where he was like just that little shy dude and he'd like, but he was so angry and he looked like a surfer dude, you know, like.
It was the best.
Yeah.
I love
God, that was the best dude. I mean, he's still good to this day.
He's still great.
But yeah, back then, I mean, he was like the shit.
Oh man. I love that man.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like that with James Hetfield, Metallica. He's like my all-time favorite goat. Like I was just watching when they had that song, what the hell is it called? I Disappear from the Mission Impossible 2 soundtrack. And it was like the Video Music Awards 2000, and they come out and play it, and he's just so fucking like. I remember like me and my buddy watching that, and like that's the shit that made me want to be a rock star. But it's like I don't feel like you can even like get that level anymore.
I mean, you can't.
Not to that stratosphere of like 2000 Metallica, late 90s, where they were like gods. You know what I'm saying? Like they're in the Mission Impossible movie. I don't know.
It's weird, man. Because here's the thing: there's still huge artists out there.
You can still get huge.
But it's
don't get me wrong.
But it's. I mean, and they have like, you know, let's just use Justin Bieber for example.
Oh yeah, he's huge,
right? But it's just different.
It's not that level. Like before, it was like like the only thing, honestly, it's gonna sound weird that I can say comes close to it is like Trump during his, like that's the level of like people were wearing those hats, dude. It was like Beatlemania, but it was like for right wing. You know what I'm saying? It was like
it's
some kind of weird cult.
It's like cult following, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, what? I'm like, why are we doing this for politicians nowadays? We used to do this for like Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
Because like to me, I was like, I don't get that for politicians.
Yeah.
Because, like, you know, I go home, like, and everybody's got the red hats and stuff. I'm like, remember we used to do this for, like, people that had talent, like rock stars and shit? Yeah. Why are we doing this for this dude? Because I was like, yeah, we used to, like, it was like Guns N' Roses. Dude, I'm watching this anime called Bastard on Netflix.
Okay.
And I don't know, I like it a lot. I think it's really funny, but, like, his, like, spells and stuff that he does, whoever wrote it, all the spells are, like the name of the spell is like he like has to he's like says something like Dave Mustaine summon something and then he's like Megadeth and like so that's like the spell. Or one of them's like called Venom. There's Guns N' Roses. The kingdom is called Metallicana.
And this is a brand new anime?
It's a brand new one, but I think the manga is like old from like the 80s into the 2000s.
I respect that, you know.
But it's dope that like all the spells are named after like old, like there's the Iron Maiden. There's like all these like old rock bands and shit.
Classics. That's why I love when there's this guy named Lil D, and he's this.
Lil D.
Yeah. But I found him on Instagram, and he's just this really young, talented rapper. But
Yeah.
he always like references old school names.
Yeah, that's
to
dope.
kind of bring him back. Like this kid was rapping and beating people in like these rap competitions when he was like 12 years old. Just like
Right.
this, he had glasses. If you looked at him, you'd be like, "Oh, that's a cute kid," and then he would just
Murder. I'm gonna have to look him up. That sounds cool.
He's really good. Yeah.
I always love people that look to the past to like, you know, and they bring, because it's like they bring that person back up. Mm-hmm. Like when I was young listening to music, I was like listening to like Fleetwood Mac, like Neil Young, like all that old shit.
Oh
too.
man, I was straight up Beatles, Neil
Beatles
Young.
too, but dude, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was like some of the first stuff I started learning on guitar.
Yeah, I would
Eric
say
Clapton.
some of that stuff was the easiest to learn. Not that they were like easy guitarists, because I couldn't do it like them, but it was chord structures.
I mean, it was three chord structure. Right?
Yeah, dude, I know that's. But so I like when people do that, like they'll bring back the past stuff, because it's like it comes in like cycles, right? Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden, like something from the 70s is popular in the 90s, and then something like right now, who knows? You could get something from the 90s make a comeback, or like a, you know, some
Absolutely.
like style, whatever influences you. And I'm sure, like, you know, like Post Malone does that. He did that whole thing where.
That's why I love Post too.
Dude, he's dope. I think he's dope too.
Because he brings back, like, I mean, he'll play Zeppelin, he'll play Nirvana, you know?
He did that whole thing, like, during COVID where he wore a dress like Kurt Cobain. They played all those Nirvana songs. And I think it was Travis Barker was the drummer.
Yeah.
Like, that stuff was dope.
Oh, man. That's why.
That made me kind of really get into him. Now I have, like, all his stuff on my, like, gym playlist. I like a lot of the new stuff, too.
Oh, yeah, same.
But it's definitely, you're right, not the same. Mm-mm. Not like the quality of the music, just the idea of a rock star in our society. It's kind of different. Mm-hmm. I mean, the old guys still have it. Like, we still look at them on these pedestals, but I've never seen anybody new kind of get to that level.
Yeah, I can't even put it into words what it was like.
Yeah. Well, that's what they always say, like, the world that you're born into doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
So we might have, like, we have this idea that, like, a young kid growing up now, they might have, like, a TikTok star. Like, that's who they think of as, like, the stratosphere of, like, fame.
I mean, it's true.
Like, yeah.
I mean, that you're not lying.
Right. It's just totally a different, like, they wouldn't understand. Like, you were like, look at this guy, he's a god. And you show him James Hetfield, they're like, what? Okay. Who's this dude?
Man, that's why I'm just so thankful that I was able to, like, go to see some great shows.
Yeah. I'm happy we grew up in the time we did, you know?
Yeah. What was your first concert, really quick? Do you remember?
Let's see. What would my first concert have been? You know, I don't remember. I think, honestly, it was probably something where it was, like, Joe Diffie or some shit.
Okay.
Like, some country guy that just, like, my family took me to or something.
Yeah.
But I remember we went to, like, when I first got into music, it was, like, we went to the Metallica Summer Sanitarium tour, like, 2003. And then we saw Pearl Jam.
Where was that? The Gorge?
Well, no, I can't remember. So I was back in Iowa at the time.
Oh, okay, got it.
But I do remember going to, like, this was been later. I'd already been to some concerts, but we saw Pearl Jam live during their PJ20 tour. Remember that movie? They came out with a movie, Pearl Jam tour. It was like 20 years later.
Yeah.
And they did these shows, Pearl Jam 20. And then it was like, kind of like, you started hearing that at the very end, like when they were in Canada, like Neil Young came out at the end, surprised everybody. They play "Rockin' in the Free World."
Oh my gosh!
And then so like at the end, we're like, "Oh my God, who's gonna?" We didn't know. So at the end, all of a sudden, they pulled out Chris Cornell. He was there the whole time. He comes out and they do a bunch of Temple of the Dog songs. They play "Hunger Strike" with him, and then then they finish out the show. But it's like, that's the only time I actually got to see Chris Cornell, because I never saw Soundgarden, I never saw Audio Slave.
I would have lost it.
Dude, we lost it. We're like, oh my, because we already knew like something big's going to happen at the end, because they've done it at every one of these shows. This was in Wisconsin, I believe. I don't know. It was dope. I remember like there was something going on with like the BP like spilling oil and shit. And like,
that was that time.
Eddie was like making up something like on the spot, like, don't go, BP Amico, don't go. You know, he was like making some protest shit up like on the spot.
And that was cool about the bands back then too, like Rage and, you know. And
well, it used to mean something when they did. Now it's like, now when people do it, it's just like you're trying to make your social media blow up by like doing the correct thing. You know, it has no power anymore. It's like, It's like it's just not the same thing.
I know.
It's because you like all you know that like it's cool to do it, so it almost comes off as like fake.
And it's so hard because like even if you are being genuine about it these
Right.
days,
You could be totally being genuine.
yeah, it's so hard though.
But it's like, are you doing this just to get your, clout, or are you doing this because you actually care? It's hard to tell now,
Yeah.
So, because someone, I think it's like people ruined it by doing it for clout.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's like, but the bands that they used to do it, they actually cared about it, and they had.
I mean, they would have albums completely dedicated to one thing. Like I remember there was this album that would come out once a year. It's called MOM or MOM.
Yeah.
It stands for Music for a Mother Ocean or something
Oh, okay, something
like that. Yeah.
And like I'm sure the proceeds went to help something. Or
yeah,
like,
it all went into like conserving the ocean, and like it would have maybe 20 different songs, and it would be 20 different bands.
yeah, well, they used to be able to do so much to like help or bring awareness. Yeah.
Yep.
It was a different world, dude. It was totally.
It's when there were CDs, technically.
Yeah.
I mean, it was before there was a public platform to
Right.
really play music through the click of a button.
It's so different now.
I mean, when I used to play music,
I still prefer the sound of CDs.
there's just something about putting a CD,
Yeah.
having a book of like 500 or 300.
Oh, I remember those days, dude. In your car, you had that fucking big thing, and you'd flip through all that shit.
Oh, yeah. It'd be falling apart.
Dude.
I remember when I was playing music, because a lot of people say, so we'll probably get into this, but a lot of people that know me today don't know that I used to play professionally.
Well, right, and they see you now. You're this bodybuilder. You got a fucking sword. You're jacked. You know, like they probably don't even get it.
No, and if they looked at me, they'd probably be like, "What kind of music do you think he plays?"
Yeah. What did you play?
So right now, I played a lot of different stuff, but what I really got when we were playing and when we were popular. I can't really even say popular when we were.
But you were doing it, making money.
I was doing it, making
living.
Yeah, making good money doing it. Back then, it was good money. It was.
I mean, that's more than a lot of musicians can say, dude.
So you said, you were inspired by, Pearl Jam. So you sound like who you're inspired by.
Right.
I was really inspired by Sublime. So I was playing a lot of that, like, punk rock meets reggae.
Yeah, that shit was the shit.
Yeah, I mean,
Sublime's great.
Oh yeah, we had a big band too. We had a DJ, we had a guitarist, we had two horn players, sometimes three. We had a
Dude,
bass.
I love Sublime. We have this customer that goes to the bar, and every time Sublime comes on, I think it's usually Santeria. He hates it. It's a bunch of it's derivative, bunch of derivative. I wish I could like do an impression of him.
Hey, that's fine.
It's so derivative. It's crap. It's this. Red Hot Chili Peppers sucked after they switched. I'm like, their best albums. Like he's so opinionated about music.
Hey,
like he hates Red Hot Chili Peppers after they changed to like. The stuff that we would consider them now, like basically Sugar Sex, Blood Magic, like everything, like Under the Bridge is crap. They used to be a funk band. They were good. Everything's derivative. He just says that all the time. Like, I'm going to fucking derivative
Red Hot
you.
Minute, man.
Dude, I'm ready to derivative him right in the fucking face sometimes. But.
Hey, I remember there was a time in my life where if it was popular, I pretended I didn't like it. Yeah. Because I wanted to know all the underground stuff.
I know. Dude, I was talking about that. Like, me and my buddies were so like that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's like... Well, and part of it came from, like...
That was the era.
Your favorite bands were basically like Metallica came because they hated 80s shit. So they were like, fuck Motley Crue, fuck this, fuck... So you kind of got that spirit in you from them because, like, they were actually formed out of hate, you know, for, like, this, like... glam era. So they're like, we're gonna play fast, we're not gonna fucking wear makeup, we're gonna be badasses. And so you kind of got that too. So it's like, oh, you like this? It's shit.
Oh man,
I listen to real music like Tool, bro. Fuck that. Like you get this weird like ego about music,
dude. Yeah, I remember. I'll bring this up, and this is name dropping 100%. So if you think I'm name dropping,
we're all about it. Let's get that clout, baby.
I am. Yeah. So this was when my band was just pretty much starting up, and we ended up playing our house party at our drummer and DJ's house.
Dope.
And it was it was one of the best house parties ever because I fucking walk in and I'm playing, I'm warming up on my guitar and I'm just jamming out, and like this one guy comes up to me, and God, I don't even remember his name because I just didn't care. But I'm playing, and he's like, this guy comes up to me, looks homeless, just long hair, looked like he was doing drugs or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, man, you're really good. I'm like, thanks. He's like, how long are you guys going to be playing tonight? And I'm like, yeah, we're going to play as long as we can. And he's like, great, I want to come back and, like, jam with you guys. I'm like, all right. Kind of like, no, you're not going to jam with us.
Yeah, you're just, like, saying the thing, whatever, to get him out of there. Yeah.
And then my friend, or our drummer, his name's Caleb. He went by Carl back then. He's like, do you know who that is? And he's like, he's in the Black Eyed Peas.
Oh no!
Yeah,
shit.
And he's got these like customized shoes that say Black Eyed Peas on
So
them.
who was it?
It was the long, not Will I Am, but the other long haired guy, not the Filipino guy.
Okay, no shit.
So it was him.
So you thought it was just some homeless dude? Like you're like, yeah, sure, you're gonna jam with us later, bro.
And when I walked in, he was just playing on the hand drums like nonchalantly.
Yeah.
You
didn't know who he was.
I didn't know who he was, man. And I remember. Once I found out, I was like, hey, man, I'm sorry. He's like, no, it's totally cool. He's like, but we'll be back later.
Yeah.
And so the Black Eyed Peas that night, that was right when about Fergie joined them, but they didn't have any hit singles out yet.
Okay, no way.
And they were playing a rave. And they played this rave, and they come back, and we have this epic
jam.
Like, we're literally playing. We've got our DJ, our horns. We've got like guys from the Black Eyed Peas. We've got this random guy from Seattle who's just outspitting everyone too.
Yeah. Dude.
Yeah.
I wish you had that on tape.
Oh man. We had some great moments.
Like video, like.
Yeah. So I really loved Sublime. I was playing a lot of punk rock, a lot of not emo music, but really just like dreary kind of like.
Yeah, some
basement band music.
Yeah, dude. I loved some emo shit back in the day. Like, just that deep stuff,
Yeah.
I always felt like art is like really good that's inspired by like pain and suffering, like.
Well, that's what type of music writer I was. I was never the type of person that could write a song that I wasn't personally experiencing. It's
tough.
Yeah.
I used to be really like kind of I think even looking back, I was probably a little bit like prima donna, like about that. Because like in my bands, I'd just be like, if I just like, I can't relate to the music. I just can't like, I don't know how I'm supposed to like play this, like, I don't know. But I did believe it at the time, I was like, because, and that's how it like, I was in a couple cover bands where like certain dudes wanted me to play stuff. And I'd be like, I just don't feel that, you know? And then I'd be like, I want to play this shit. And then a couple of the other guys were more into the heavy stuff and like whatever. But, looking back now, it was all fun.
Yeah.
We loved it,
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to relive those days,
Well, it's like, I feel like maybe someday I'll play music again.
Yeah.
I should have put a string on my guitar. We'll start like a bodybuilder jam.
Hey,
sometime.
You invite me back, I'll come do it,
We'll have to do it sometime.
We might have to practice before we jump on.
Yeah, dude, I'm so out of practice. Like, I broke that string. I was watching this like Metallica Helping Hands concert.
Okay.
And so they do it every year to like raise money. It's their foundation, Helping Hands. I'm not sure what charity, but it goes to help, I think it's kids, and I can't remember, but they do it once a year, and it was like it was on Paramount Plus. They have it streaming.
Super cool.
And they played like 2 Thin Lizzy songs, and like one of them obviously was Whiskey in the Jar, and I'm like, man, I gotta learn that fucking song. So I played it, and it's a fun song, and then a string broke. I'm like, shit.
Well, those strings, I'm gonna call you out. They look pretty old.
They're old as fuck. They're probably I haven't changed them in forever,
like a decade.
Because I'm kind of like like. My musician Nick is dead.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's kind of like, it's still there, but it's like, sometimes like your old idea of yourself holds you back from becoming who you want to be.
Oh yeah, because you were in it. And
right. And it doesn't mean that I won't play music again and I still don't love it, but it's like right now I'm focused on other things, so it's like, but I feel like it's always kind of there.
Yeah.
Yeah, music.
It's funny, when I was going through my depressed episode, I picked up my guitar again, man.
Yeah, that's the best time to do it.
And it's so funny because here I thought I was so rusty, and there was just something about being in that headspace.
Right.
And I was, man, to be so completely present when you're playing music and in the emotion where you're actually feeling your feelings come out of the guitar strings and out of your voice.
100%.
I was like, man, I'm not rusty. Like, I just...
I still have this thing.
Man, I was jamming. I was like...
Like, maybe your fingers need to get strengthened up and your calluses come back, but, like, you still have the thing. It's there, right?
It was there, man. And I ended up writing a couple songs, not the normal genre that I would write,
That's good, though, man.
Yeah.
That's the best thing to do. Like, I mean, even sometimes that's why I, like, feel like getting away from music, because I'm like, I don't know how long I can do that and stay in that kind of head. Like, even like I was listening to like Pearl Jam talk about writing their second album, and like it was after the success of, the what was their first one? 10. And so they had all this money now. They had a nice... And Eddie's like, how am I supposed to write like this? We have everything.
Yeah.
He like literally said he had to put himself in like a shitty, headspace.
What was after 10? Was it Vitology?
No, that's their third one. It was Versus.
Oh, it was Versus.
It's the one with like Daughter, Don't Call Me Daughter, Animals on there.
Yeah, Versus is with like the lamb on the cover.
Yeah, it's a great album, honestly.
Oh, it's so good.
It was their only... I'd say those two are the most commercially successful.
They're the best ones.
They're amazing. Then after that is when Eddie got like freaked out because Cobain killed himself. And then he kind of like took over the band and basically was like, we're not doing anything commercial, fuck off. Because he was scared, I think. Because it was like so successful. He was like, we're not doing music videos. We're not doing anything. And it's... They say it's probably the best thing that happened to him because it gave him longevity. They felt like they would have burnt out if they kept going after that commercial thing.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, those first two albums are bangers for sure.
It's sad because, my favorite, I will say, without a doubt, my favorite Pearl Jam song, even though there's so many good ones, is Yellow Ledbetter, which is a B-side of the single Jeremy, which a lot of people still don't know,
Right.
And then...
That song gets so much shit for, like, mumbling.
Yeah, but that's why I love it.
I'm like, when I sing it, I like, know the words I'm saying, but I can see what... Like, I mean, even, it's like... You kind of have to sing them like he does. It's like,
dude, because it's not this. It's what you're mumbling doesn't sound like the.
Yeah, it's like
again.
It's such a great song though, because it's like it almost sounds like some kind of like Mike McCready was inspired. The guitar player was like inspired by like
Stevie or Jimmy.
Yeah, definitely Jimi Hendrix, Stevie Ray Vaughan. It has that vibe, and it's
got
like
that blues guitar.
And then just Eddie's like on point in that song. Like I love his mumbly vocals in that song.
I love it.
Yeah, I mean it's like what makes the song.
Well, my sister introduced me to that song. I remember I was, I was maybe 11 or 12. Mm-hmm. I was listening to the Beatles on my dad's like old school like stereo system thing that was way too gaudy and way too big for what it did.
Yeah.
But then I just remember my sister was like, "Listen to this."
It's like bang.
Yeah. Like, and then my favorite Nirvana song, I can't even tell you what it was, but he showed up at a radio station in Aberdeen and was like, "I wrote this in the car," and I just so happened to be had a tape player that would record stuff.
Right. What, you don't know what song it was?
Oh man, I wish I did, because I learned how to play it by ear.
I used to love that song. Where did you sleep last night?
Oh yeah.
How's it go? Fuck, I can't remember.
It's like in the house where
it's like my.
There's a lot of voice cracking in that.
Don't lie to me. Yep. Tell me where did you sleep last night? That's at the end he really goes off the charts with the screaming.
Yeah,
that's a good one, dude. I don't even think that's their song. I think that's a cover.
Yeah, he did.
I just love that.
Yeah, that Unplugged album was great by them.
I know. I'm kind of so sad to like, what would have he done like if he hadn't killed himself? Because like, I felt like the music was like when he did in utero. It was so different. And it was like, wow, he's going in a really crazy direction. Like, who knows what he would have come up with.
Dude, it was so good. Well, one of my other favorite song was from released after he died from the Muddy Banks of the Wishkah.
Okay, yeah.
And one of the songs, I forgot the name of it. It's going to kill me, but whatever.
I do like that one song they released after he passed away, and I think like even Hole did a cover of it. It's that one where it's like, na, 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 na.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
You Know You're
yeah,
Right. It's called
yeah.
You Know You're Right. You know you. Yeah, so it always made me wonder, like, damn, he would have. But I think he had imposter syndrome.
Look this up.
Dude, look it up. Look it up.
Okay.
I think he had imposter syndrome, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, I'm this, like, you know, like world-changing musician that changed music, and I'm the greatest thing. And he was like, I'm just this dude. I don't even know what the fuck I'm doing.
Well, that's why he's gone, man. Like,
yeah, it was too much pressure.
It's the same thing, and God bless this man because I love him and he changed my life. Was Anthony Bourdain?
Yeah, and he's gone too.
He's gone, dude.
What even happened with him?
Top of the success. And same thing, if you actually watch his documentary called Roadrunner, which was created after he passed,
yeah,
it goes through it. He stopped doing it for why he loved it. You know,
oh, shit.
It was just he had to keep up with the fame train because it was demand and supply and demand.
There was something with a girl too.
Oh, yeah, man.
I know. I don't know any of the details. I just know there was something happened with some girl.
Yeah.
That was really bad for him. All of his friends were like saying like this isn't good, and
yeah, that was sad because
so that played into it for sure.
Yeah, he divorced his wife. Both of these girls he met while he was filming the show. Yeah. I remember when he met his wife and his wife wasn't with him. Ooh. And I remember well, it was before they had actually got married, but she was just a guest. And she was slamming him for making this pasta dish. They filmed it in Italy. And she was like, this is not pasta. And she's like, she maybe took one bite.
Okay.
And then they ended up getting married, had a kid.
Right.
And then they got separated.
But that was his wife before this other girl.
Yeah.
Right?
And then she started dating this like movie director from like some European place. Very good looking.
Yeah.
And very like, but yeah, she ended up, I guess they leaked some footage of her with some other guy. Oh, shit. And it just wrecked them. And
that's what I heard. Yeah, there was something, man, because like, I don't know much about it. I just know like the stuff I've heard from like podcasts and all that stuff.
Man, heartbreak, you know?
And it's weird that it can still get you when you're as successful in his age.
Dude, it doesn't matter, man.
Because I'm always thinking like, oh, I remember like, you know, I'll talk to these younger guests I've had on here, or like even some of the ones that are a little like in their 30s, and it's like, well, what got you into weightlifting? What got, you know, heartbreak? It's like, of course, that's the thing that makes you the sharpest you'll ever be is heartbreak, right? It's like, it makes you the best you are if you can survive it, you know?
Dude,
it's like,
it's the worst.
If you survive, I mean, it's worse than death, for real,
is.
most of the time. It's because it's like death, at least like the person's gone, but it's like, now they're alive, but they don't want you. It's like a worse thing, you know. Like,
and it's, yeah. I'm gonna say that's something that is my downfall.
Oh yeah, it's. But
do you remember the song? Is it Spank Through?
That's what it's called.
Yeah, it was never released on anything.
Okay.
But I remember it, and
that's Nirvana.
Nirvana, yeah, on the Muddy Banks of the Wishkah.
Oh yeah, that's such a good live album.
And it's funny because same thing with Eddie Vedder. He just mumbles, and it doesn't even.
It doesn't matter, dude.
It sounds so. The beginning lyrics are, "There was a soft, pretentious mountain," and when you hear him sing it, he's like, "That's what it sounds like."
Well, but that's the thing is like that's why you like these guys because they're not just performing, they're like getting themselves into a space and they're like projecting their pain to you. So like if their voice does some weird thing, it adds to it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so to me, I think that's like part of it. Like or like the way they're able to use their voice to like do weird things sometimes where it's like that's what they're meaning to do. Like sometimes you're like, why do they do it? Well, it's like because that's what they're feeling in the song. That's what they're trying to do. Like, even like Neil Young's really good at that. Like he'll do like really warbly, weird stuff sometimes with his voice, but it's to make the song better. He's meaning to do it. Like,
Oh man.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
I mean, I tried to do that, obviously. Or whenever I did it, it was unintentional, and then I would just keep doing that,
right.
because it worked.
Hell yeah, I got to hear some of your stuff sometime, dude.
Good luck because you can't find it.
Isn't that a bummer?
Because here's the thing, you guys. Back when I was playing professionally, there was no such thing as Facebook.
I know, that's the problem.
There was no social media platform. When I would when I would sell CDs or like try to get people to come to shows, I would hand draw these flyers.
Yep.
I would sit out in the corner of Seattle,
pass them out,
and I would have a Walkman and some headphones on a street corner and be like, "Hey, listen to our demo."
No way.
Oh yeah, and people be like, "Yeah, we'll give you the CD if you come with 2 people,"
Right.
And that
It's
was
like
just the honor code.
Just in the streets trying to get the music to the people.
Dude, we would hustle.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is that we never had to look. We never had to look for a show. We were lucky enough to, ever since our very first show, we just got offered shows.
Well, and that's probably, I mean, you guys must have had a big thing because if you had the horn section, like, so I imagine it was a pretty attractive band to have, like, because you guys must have been pretty tight if you're playing that kind of music.
And no one else was doing it.
Right.
Right. So our first show was in 2002, and it was at the Cedar Crest High School Battle of the Bands. And Cedar Crest is the high school in Duval.
And did you win?
Yeah, we fucking won.
You just destroyed. You dominated the Battle of the Bands.
Yeah, and the judges were like high clout judges. Like Queensryche was one of the judges.
Whoa, like the dude from Queensryche?
Yeah.
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 Because they're still in this area.
Oh, yeah, and one of the bands that he signed was one of the bands that was playing there.
That's got to feel like high praise.
Oh,
dude.
man, and they were called Roundabout. They had these synchronized dance moves. They were like kind of like your more poppy punk rock.
Yeah.
And they were good. And they were good-looking guys.
Right, but you guys beat them.
Don't know how.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah,
man.
and then literally after that, I mean, we got hooked up with some studio time, a fat sound system, like these customized rings from a Hell's Angel, like skull rings,
Dude, that is so sick.
Still have it.
Don't you? So I just really wish we had social media the way we do now back when I was in my bands.
Yeah.
Because I still, like, there's certain, from, like, the first band I had was called the Goat Ropers, and we were a cover band.
Okay.
That started as a joke, but, man, we used to play these live shows where I would kill to, like, have recordings of those.
100%.
But they're gone forever.
Yeah. People, like, there used to be this place called the Marina Cantina in downtown Kirkland. It's now called the Bottle and Bowl. But before that, there was this place called the Marina, and
I know that place, so it's the Bottle and Bull anyway.
Yeah.
So you used to play down there.
And we sold that motherfucker out. Sorry. I've been saying
you can swear.
I know, I've been cussing a lot, though. I try not to.
You're trying to get better about it, yeah.
No, not really. I just try not to. Whatever.
I get it, yeah.
Anyways, we would play this place every other Friday, and there would always be a line of about 100 people waiting to get in.
Dude.
And
that had to be so fun.
Oh, man. We would make, and back then, bands were struggling to make a couple $100 when they would play. We would walk out of there with $1,600 to $2,000.
Not bad.
Not bad. Split between 5 single guys that don't have families, and we were blowing up, man. And that led us to opening up for after Bradley died, they started a couple bands called the Long Beach Dub All Stars. They started Long Beach Short Bus, which were all of the band members from Sublime.
Yeah,
got to open for them.
Because what year? When did he die?
96, I believe.
Damn, that is so crazy.
Yeah.
And have they ever really? They have a new singer now, right? Do they still tour?
They do have a new singer. His name's Rome.
But he was kind of like the guy, though.
Yeah, so he was.
Is it equivalent of like you couldn't really have Pearl Jam without Eddie Vedder?
Yeah, it was kind of like when they replaced. Look at Alice in Chains, right? Like they
The only reason that even works is because Jerry Cantrell is such a big part, and his voice is still there.
is still there, and the guy. But here's the thing: it's still not the same.
It's not the same,
right?
It's not Lane.
It's
like
not
it's
Lane
still
Staley.
great. Trust me, all their new albums are still great, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not the thing it was.
So that's the same thing. So they're now known as Sublime with Rome. They couldn't take Sublime,
Yeah.
because someone else copyrighted it.
Yeah.
Which is like
weird.
Yeah. But we've even got to play with them.
That's dope.
Like we were doing big things, and man, I just got way too like my ego took a hold of me.
Was it bad?
Man, it was
I could
bad.
see that.
It was bad.
Yeah.
I'm not the man today that I once was.
Thank
God.
But I mean, sometimes the same thing that makes you so good at that art is like the thing that makes you like a dick. You know what I'm saying? Like that ego.
Man.
You know, like I was listening to like Shawn Michaels interview, the wrestler, and he was I think he was talking to, it might have been Logan Paul's podcast or something, and you know, he was talking about how he used to be such a dick, but he's like I don't necessarily know though that I would have reached the heights that I reached if I hadn't been that guy. He's like, I don't want to be that guy now, and I'm so happy I'm not.
Yeah.
But he's like, I don't know that I necessarily would have, you know, it's like an armor. The ego is like an armor sometimes. It's like,
man, it is in a way, and maybe we wouldn't have, because these were all my songs, so I was like, you play them the way that I write them.
ooh, you were that guy. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and if they messed up, I would just like give them dirty looks, and like it was.
That's a perfectionist, dude.
Dude,
That's
it
like,
was so bad.
So I had a hard time with that too. Like when I did my last band, Loudhead, which I really enjoyed, and I still think those dudes are great.
Yeah, because you have stuff on Spotify with Loudhead.
We got the one, the EP on Spotify, yes, and it was cool. I'm glad we did it. I'm glad we finished it.
Sounds good, because I remember listening to it a while.
Yeah, the dude that produced it, Scott Mass was his name. It was like Factor V Studios. We did the drums in Stone Gossard's place, Lithograph Studio, which was super cool to be in there because you knew that it was like Stone Gossard's studio.
Yeah.
But I was like that too. Like it was a lesson for me in collaborating where, you know, every other band I've done, I was basically like in charge because it's like he's the guy with the talent, you know, like. And
He's
now
the voice, right?
Yeah, now I'm like with these other guys who are talented too, and now they have opinions. I'm like, you have opinions? What the fuck is this? Like it was like hard for me to. So it was a good lesson because, you know, we had to compromise on certain things. But it was kind of like, man, I'm not used to this, and it was good to. It was like, I think it was a good lesson for me. But I mean, eventually I did end up quitting because it was like.
Oh, you're the one who quit.
Yeah, I'm the one that quit because it felt like they had weird, unrealistic expectations about like we should be blowing up from this one EP, and I'm like, oh no, it takes like years and years, and so they're trying to like change the direction because like it felt like they wanted to try to like, I don't know, it was like, we need to write like this, and I was like, well, I don't want to write like that, so I was just like, I'm out, you know, it was like too much. And plus, I think I was just really kind of unhappy at the time, you know?
Okay, yeah,
But it was like, I felt like, I'm like, well, I'm not going to try to, like, I don't want to try to write a certain way that is dated to this time. Like, I just want to write what I like for me.
Yeah.
And, you know, the first album was like, it was like, good. I felt it felt a little dated, kind of like dad rock a little bit, because it was kind of like hearkening back to that era that's gone. But I was still really proud of it. I thought we did a good job with it, and it sounded good. But I was like, I want to go do like unique shit, and like I also was like, I don't want rules like, oh, the songs have to be 2 minutes or this or that. I don't want to follow like I was all like trying to be rebellious, you know. I'm like, if I want to write a 7-minute, 8-minute song like Metallica, I'll fucking do it. I'm Nicky Free, you know. Like I had an ego still. I was like, so well, I don't know.
Look at Queen, you know. Remember when they came out with? Did you watch that Queen movie, by the way, or that?
Oh no, the movie, like the actual movie, or is this a documentary?
Yeah, the movie
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah, Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah,
like great written movie, and like depicted how it came, like, because Bohemian Rhapsody was what, an 8-minute song.
Yeah, and they're like, you can't do that.
You can't do that. Yeah, and
I didn't like the rules. It was like, we need to do this. The vocals need to come in at this point. It has to be a chorus right at the beginning to catch the. I'm like, I don't want to write like that. I just want to write what I feel like.
I get it, man.
But I kind of get their point too, because like you want to be commercially successful. So I like understood. I I'm really glad we finished it, and then I kind of moved into more of the fitness thing.
Okay.
So it was like, because I really wasn't happy. I wasn't, it's like, I used to wrestle, and I was so used to like pushing my body to these certain levels where I felt like I was not at my potential anymore. And I wasn't ready to like let go of that part of myself either. So it was hard to like balance both.
Do you think you'll ever get back into it? Because
wrestling?
Yeah. Because I know you're older, but
I am, but I know I could still do it right now.
Dude, at the same time, you're probably in the best shape of your life.
I'm in the best shape I've ever been in.
Yeah, because you look great. And
I mean, I think I could do it. And it's like, honestly, I've been thinking like, if I am going to do it, I better do it in the next 5 years. Otherwise, like when I'm hitting 45, I'm not going to probably.
Dude, 100%.
But then you see like Edge, he's like 47. He comes back. He's in like tremendous shape and he's still killing it. So I'm like, yeah, maybe this is the time. I'm not going to rule it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love to see it.
Yeah. It'd be pretty dope. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see what Nicky Free comes out as now, right?
Nicky Free 2023.
Because I want to see what that looks like. Because we know you got to transform, right? It's like It's a performance.
Oh, it's a performance. Yeah, I don't know what I would do. It'd be a chance to be creative again for sure.
That was one thing when I performed with the band that I was getting popular with, is that it was all a show, you know?
Right.
Like there were points where like, I mean, we got it down to where, hey, this is where we're going to stop. This is where I'm going to talk. This is what I'm going to say.
Oh, I like that, though.
Yeah.
So, like, that's kind of like you watch the Foo Fighters talking about, like, when they started versus, like, building what became an arena show. Mm-hmm. Like, when it gets to the level of arena, like, because before they talked about they didn't really know how to build a show. So they eventually get to a point, and Metallica's great at it, too, like, building the show so it like blows people's fucking minds. Like it's not just like, oh, we play these like, and even Pearl Jam, like Eddie Vedder puts painstaking work because they do different sets every night, and he goes by how he feels, so he'll change the set list every night, you know. So it's like, however you do it, like you have to have all those little details.
Yeah, it was like this well orchestrated. Actually, it wasn't even well orchestrated. I was just the fucking Nazi on that stage.
So you were the guy.
Dude, I was the guy, man. And here's what ended up happening with the band, right? 2 years later, we're doing great, man. And, we're playing great.
But you were kind of ruling with an iron fist.
Dude, ruling with an iron fist. Not, and here's the thing. This is what I start to realize with, sadly, even at this age, how I've conducted a lot of my relationships, So it's this continuing learning process for me, to where things are one-sided, right? When in a band, if I gave them the artistic freedom, maybe we wouldn't have been as big, but maybe we would have gotten bigger. Because here's the thing. Old bass player, he's actually playing in a band called the Volcanics out of California, surf rock band.
Right.
And the drummer is still doing stuff. One of our horn players is still doing stuff. Mm-hmm. But they were all so talented that they could have probably taken it. It probably would have been more appealing to more ears.
Right, because I thought that too with the guys in my band. It's like, maybe that's why I had to like try to listen to them, because it's like, and they're both talented. Like James, the drummer, he's in Austin now. I really hope he does something, because I still keep in contact with him. But it's like, what if like one of their ideas was the thing that like made the song better, but you're like too closed off to it to think about? Because I do think sometimes it's good to have like somebody that's more the leader, the direction, but be that with like a little with an open mind as well. Because somebody does have to be kind of the leader. I mean, like somebody has to be making the decisions, but sometimes I think you got to be open too.
Yeah.
And it's tough if you're like a creative person.
Well, it's almost like that difference between a leader and a manager, right?
Right.
I was a manager technically.
You're managing them. Yeah. You should have been leading.
Yeah.
And a leader would be open to ideas.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's hard to do that though. It's hard as a musician, I know.
Yeah. So what ended up happening with that is, and plus I was just getting the partying was getting in the way, Like
yeah, definitely.
The lifestyle. I started getting more attracted to the fame and the partying versus the music. You know, there was a time, and a couple close people know this story about me.
Yeah.
But we had a big show. Some big people were coming out to watch us, and I remember bass player, drummer come up, and they're like, "Hey, man, it'd be great if you just don't drink during this show."
Yeah.
And I remember.
Did you take that as like?
Nah, I would remember being kind of pissed off about it, and like under my breath, I was just like, you know what, fuck you guys, you know. And I remember having a bottle of Jack Daniels.
You're like, nobody fucking tells Frankie he can't fucking drink, right? Like,
so I have this bottle of Jack, and I remember before the show, I'm like, I literally go to the audience, and I'm like, so my band doesn't want me to drink today. And I was like, what do you guys think? Because I just happen to have this bottle of Jack Daniels, and you know what?
So I'm sure the crowd loved you.
Oh, the crowd loved it
for that, but your band was probably felt really hurt from that. Oh
man! So here's the thing: I take the whole thing down. I get so sloppy to work because I chugged it, and first 2 songs great. About the 3rd song, I get so sloppy.
Yeah,
but you know,
you really are a rock star, dude. Because that's like. You have that rebellious thing. Somebody tells you can't do something, you're like, "Fuck you." You're just like,
I didn't really look like one.
You're like, I mean,
I look terrible. Like if you look at pictures of me,
I know looking back now, I'm sure it doesn't feel like that, but that is like that's a rebellious thing.
Hey, let's say I tried to hug someone that was kind of below the stage, so I kind of had to reach down, and I remember falling off the stage on top of this person.
Holy shit, dude. So you were sloppy.
I was sloppy, man. It was not a good look, but
that's kind of like why Guns N' Roses broke up, dude.
Yeah.
Like they all had heroin problems, and Axl would like start saying shit about it, like to the crowd, like calling them out for their hair, and like that they took so much offense to that, like. We know we have a problem, but you're bringing it out in public. So, like, that's what you did with the bottle. You're like, my band doesn't want me to drink. You know, it's like, ooh, that had to hurt when you said that.
Yeah, well, they didn't stand for it.
Right. But you were being rebellious teen. And I'm sure the crowd was like, fuck that, drink, bro. You know, like.
They were just going wild. Yeah, just loud. And yeah, I mean, that was the life. And
I feel like you can look back fondly at those things now, but you're happy you're not there. That's how I would feel.
I do, yeah. And obviously everything happens for a reason. Because here's the thing. Just shortly after that, we all sat down, and they basically all quit the band. Really what it boiled down to is they fired me, but a unique way of firing me is they're like, hey, we're all quitting. And then probably about a month later, I find out that they started a new band with one of these other with a lead singer from a band that we used to play with all the time.
So that had to hurt.
It did, but I will tell you that
it made you look at your own behavior.
It made me look at my own behavior. Sadly, this is how I learned, through pain and through the consequences of my own actions.
Right.
Sadly. You know, and I know that there's a lot of people that learn that way too. I'd rather not have it not be that way, but you know, these are things. So I'm a big advocate about mental health, you know, so I'm seeking out a lot, you know, because like I told you, I've had a rough couple months. So I'm doing intensive work, you know.
That's good. And I'm glad you're sharing it even right now, dude. Like,
yeah. So I'm doing relationship group counseling where I have a group of men that get together who have experienced relationship problems, and those who have kind of recovered from that and have had bonded and have healthy, harmonious relationships.
Right, because that stuff's hard too. Like, especially if you, I don't know, it's hard to understand women sometimes, like, or what your or not even women, just whoever your partner is, like, we don't communicate enough. You know, it's like, so that's good you're doing that.
Yeah, so a lot of it, and you know, it's all about looking and staying in my lane. You know, I could look at the other parties as much as I want to, and whether or not there's some issues there, you know, great. But guess what? I can't change anyone except for me.
Right.
So, you know, I do therapy every week, a couple different kinds. You know, I see, you know, I've got a spiritual advisor too.
Dude, I think that's huge. I mean,
you know, what I really want to do is I don't want to carry the same behavior that caused my last relationships to fail, to be carried into my to my next relationship. And I think that would be doing a very big disservice to the people that have given me their time and their love and attention in my past.
Right.
You know, if I didn't take that and use it to help myself, you know?
I mean, that is so huge of a lesson to learn, I think, is like every time we get out of like, even when you talk about a band relationship, like,
Yep, exactly.
it's like if I looked back at like my band and I'm like, well, all the problems were them. It was all them. I'm a fucking saint. It wasn't my fault. Like, what do I learn? Nothing.
Nothing.
You know what I'm saying?
You just carry that load into.
I actually feel bad for people that do that. Like, they always make the other person the villain. They never look at their own behaviors and actions because then they never get better.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? And that's the whole point, is getting better. Like you said, now the next time I want to be a better person because maybe this was my fault. Maybe parts of it were my fault. Maybe, you know what I'm saying? But a lot of people can't do that.
Man, it is a painful experience. I'll tell you, like, all of this therapy, you know, and like I said, coming from a very strenuous last couple months, to be able to do this work, it's almost like you're causing yourself more pain on top of it.
Because you have to open all the shit up.
Because you do, yeah. So it's almost like I'm in a surgery. I use this analogy all the time. I'm in surgery, and what they originally came in to get, you know, that cancer, you know, that's inside of me, whatever's in there. Guess what? They just found out a whole mess more.
Yeah, and it's all like, it's almost like it's all in there healed over, and now you got to rip it open again to get to it, right?
Exactly.
So it's going to be painful every time.
It's going to be painful, and then here's the worst part of it, right? Have you gotten surgery before?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you go through surgery. That's not really the painful part, right? You're under anesthesia, right? They're going through it. What's the most painful part? After you get sewn up or whatever and you go home. It's the healings.
And then it's the wanting to go to the gym, but you can't. And you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm at that point where I don't know. I still might be in the surgery process because there's still a lot that I'm uncovering. And yes.
But you're able to talk about it.
Yeah, because I've been such a secret, you know?
And you know that it's going to help other people.
And that's what I'm hoping for, at least.
Right.
You know? I mean,
I think it does, dude. And I think it's like we learn, like, not to go, but I relate everything to freaking music here now because we've been talking about it. But if you look at our heroes, like I'm thinking about James Hetfield again. Like, he had to go to therapy, like, in like 2000 or whatever, when the band broke up, and he had to go get help with alcoholism and all this stuff, and like, you know, and then he like relapsed once, and like almost 20 years later, and he had to go back in. But it's like, there's certain people that will look at him now, and he's so open, and he talks so freely about his feelings and his emotions, and like they'll view him as like, oh, what a pussy, you know, like I miss the old Hetfield and all that. It's like, to me, I like view him now as the strongest version he is, because he's able to like talk about this stuff.
Absolutely.
And he's been able to like heal all. I mean, that dude's had all kinds of stuff happen, you know, the Christian Scientist thing where like his mom got cancer, but their family didn't believe in medicine because it was Christian Scientists or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's some sort of religion. I don't know much about it, but you're not allowed to take medication or anything or go to the doctor. So he had to watch his mom die of cancer when she could have survived if she would have went and got help. And
not necessarily survived, but
possibly survived, I guess. Yeah. But so he's had a lot of stuff go on, and he just kind of bottled it up, walled it up. But like now he's like post-therapy Hetfield, and he's so open. Like, he's even telling the fans one night about like, you know, sometimes I get so like imposter syndrome again, like so scared to play because it's like, can I still keep doing this, like being this guy for you guys? And he admits that he even has days where he doesn't know if he can be James Hetfield for everybody, you know. It's a lot. But so it's like, I think the vulnerability honestly makes him more endearing, and it helps people. So, I mean, to me, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's parts of me, obviously the ego, that doesn't like to be open about it because it's like there's that stigmatism. How are people going to view me, right? Especially if it's like, you know, I want to find a relationship someday, and it's like, how is someone else going to view me knowing that I'm fucked up, you know? But the reality is, you know, if you think about Hetfield or anyone who's on a huge platform who's very vulnerable about what they've been through,
Right.
you know, these are people that we look up to and think, oh, this person has superpowers, but in actuality, they're just
A human being.
a human being. Now, you know, I'll put this out there too. If there's anyone listening to this that is going through a hard time, like, I know that there's all of these posts, right? Like, especially with, you heard about Twitch. I don't know if you actually knew who that was.
No.
But there was one of the DJs on Ellen, that Ellen DeGeneres
Yeah,
show.
yeah. He
had committed
committed
suicide.
suicide. Okay.
And what he is, and how he's always.
His name was Twitch.
Yeah.
That's right. Oh, so I was thinking of the platform Twitch. I'm like, what?
Oh,
No. Yeah, I did hear about that.
Now, if you see him and the way that he's always been portrayed in the public eye, he's always been happy, funny, very positive.
Right.
Right?
Well, I think that about Chris Cornell. I'm like, how?
Yeah.
He seems so far past all that.
Oh, my gosh.
He's an elder statesman in music. He has his family. He has his shit together.
If
That would have happened when he was younger, maybe, or like,
I never
saw that coming.
Yeah, I never saw it with Anthony Bourdain either.
No.
Now, here's the thing to the outside looking in, or from the outside looking in, if you would have judged who I was and what Frankie is off of a public profile, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm sure you didn't think about 2 months ago, just a short 2 months ago, 3 months ago, that I was on websites looking at the most effective way to take my life.
No, because I had no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to come clean with. And I guess the big reason why I talk about this too is that, there's a lot of people that are out there that are just say, like, just get help, just talk about it. It's not always that easy, because I actually did reach out to people for help this time around.
Right.
And the reason why we don't is because...
Is it like a feeling of not wanting to be a burden to people, or
it's
like...
not? Yeah, it's the feeling of not wanting to be a burden, and the reality is that a lot of people don't understand depression, and God, I hate to use the word that people will fail you.
But well, also it's like these people, like, they're so caught up in their own lives too.
Exactly.
It's hard to find somebody that's gonna actually like. Or even be able to relate to what you're talking about.
Exactly. Exactly.
And like you said, like, most people probably view you as this really strong person. So they're like, well, what do you mean? They wouldn't, they might not know how severe it is, or like.
Yeah. And, it's not going to be just one person, right? That's going to help you. Mm-hmm. But, I'm just going to put myself out there. If you guys have my Instagram, which I'm sure Nicky will share here, but it's at Frankie Arcega. So my first and last name.
Yep. It's
my IG handle. Shoot me a DM. If I don't fucking know you, I don't care, Just just reach out, tell me you're feeling a certain way. Now, here's the thing. Am I going to be able to solve your problem? No. Right? Am I going to be able to get you out of your dark place? No. Okay. The reality is no one was able to fix what I was going through, but just knowing, that people were there at times.
Yep. That you had somebody to talk to.
Yeah. And then, I also had to not keep myself a secret. One of my friends, Chris, he's one of my spiritual mentors, a great man, older guy. I remember him talking to me one day. And he's like, hey, so how's it going? I'm like, not so good. He's like, you home alone right now? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, get out of there. You're in there with a crazy person.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
That is true, though. That's what it's like when your brain's beating you up. Like,
yeah. And here's the thing. We want to isolate. We want to be in the place where it's the most dangerous for us. Mm-hmm. Now, going back to that book, right, about traumas and repeated behaviors lead to the same experiences. The same experiences lead to the same circumstances. It's a repetitive cycle of behavior. Mm-hmm. Now, the opposing way of how to actually help yourself, whether it's trauma you're facing, whether it's these repeated patterns that always cause you to go into a depressive state or suicide, there's actually a way to rewire your neural pathways, and that's through new experiences.
Yes.
Right? So there's books out there, there's a lot of research done on this, that new experiences create these new neural pathways. And of course, the more you repeat that behavior, the more that it
cements it in.
It strengthens it, right? So you create these new experiences, these new experiences with yourself. Now, can you always do that? Is that sustainable? In a way, right? Mm-hmm. But I think the biggest thing is just not falling into, is not necessarily keep on doing the new experience, but to avoid doing the things that get you to where that leads you into that dark place.
You're like, I always think of it as like, don't be that old you. Like that old you wants you to like, it wants to like suck you back in, like, so if you're trying to create a new you have to like do the things the new you does and don't do the things. It sounds weird, but it's like,
no, it's the truth.
I feel like our brains really are very programmable.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. Like I even saw somebody posted this video about like the power of even like moving to a different place. Mm-hmm. It like unlocks all this genetic potential, because like sometimes we get so, when we're in a place too long, we just get really complacent. Mm-hmm. And then the moving to a new place is hard. So it's like, because even when I moved here, dude, it was like destruction of me and rebuilding myself. And I'm still my old self. Like I still have all those parts, but I had to rebuild myself into a new version of me that was able to handle like living here and all the new. So I feel like you're right. It's like new things. I don't know how it works, but
yeah, I mean, and the same, with the new experiences, the repeated experience of new experience strengthens those neural pathways. Again, the opposing too. If you keep on repeating the same negative behaviors, guess what? That's why it's so strong, and that's why it's so hard to break those patterns, because that's what you're used to. Mm-hmm. Now,
that's why addiction's so hard, I think.
Exactly.
It's not always just the chemical hook, I don't think. Mm-hmm. It's just the behavior.
Yeah.
So like the cigarette, it's like the culture that comes with it, the going outside, sometimes those are as hard to break as the actual chemical addiction.
100%. Yeah. It's it is, I hear this saying, you walk a mile into the forest, you got to walk a mile out.
Yeah.
Okay. So guess what?
So that's like bad behavior, going back into the bad behaviors.
Yeah. If you're doing let's say you're doing a bad behavior for a year. Okay. And all of a sudden, man, I've been trying to get out of this bad behavior. Well, how long have you been trying? Oh, a couple weeks, month. Okay.
But it took you this many years to get here. It's going to take.
Yeah.
Well, it's like if you say a person who's in shape decides to like get completely out of shape.
Yep.
And does it for over a year, like it's going to take you like 2 years to get back to where you were.
Exactly.
It's not going to happen like fast.
Now, you can expedite the process, obviously, the more intensive work you do.
Right. We could probably do it a little faster maybe because of some of the general knowledge we have, but it'd still be hard.
Yeah, it'd still be hard. But that's how it would work for anyone, essentially. Okay? Right? Some guy used to be so fit, been out of shape for 10 years.
Wasn't there a guy that did that? Like got out of shape just to prove he could get back in shape?
Yeah, I think it was that guy from...
and he got really out.
Fit to Fat is like some YouTube guy. Because he wanted to show it was possible.
That has health consequences.
It does in a way.
Even that McDonald's, that dude that did that documentary.
Yeah, the Super Size Me one.
Yeah. Or like remember when Stallone did Copland and he got really fat? Oh, man. And he said it actually fucked his health up for a number of years. Obviously, yeah. I mean,
you know, when you get older too, you have more of a risk of going into diabetes.
Right, it's going to be tougher to get back in shape the older you are too. But if you maintain it, you can keep it longer.
Yeah, but in regards to, hey, if you want to get healthy, yeah, you can do it. Okay.
Oh, anybody can do it.
Yeah, anyone can do it. And guess what? The more work you put into it, the more progress you're going to get. So that's why I'm doing all of this intensive work on myself, because guess what? Is it going to take some time? Yes, I imagine that it will. I imagine that it's work that's also not going to, it's not something that I just achieve over a certain amount of time. It's something that I'll continually have to work on for the rest of my life.
So similar to working out in the gym, the mental, doing what you're doing is the same type of thing. It takes a lot of work to get where you need to be, and you're gonna have to do maintenance on it for the rest of your. It doesn't ever.
Yeah, and I hate to say it because that's probably gonna freak people out.
Well, I think people have this weird idea that you just like do something and you get to a certain spot in something, and then your life's just rainbows and fairy tales after that. It's like people think that about fitness all the time. Like, well, I just get here and then I'm fit. And then it's just, no, you have to maintain that.
That's why I love the fitness analogy.
Yeah, because the brain is the same way, or like trying to be mentally healthier. Like, I mean, even me, I've learned so many things where throughout the years where I know what I need to do to keep myself on the path I need to be. And I will see myself slipping at times. But I know what I'm like. Oh, you're doing this thing again. And just get back to this. Don't go down that. Don't go down that road. Don't go down. You know, like you get better at it as you do it more.
Now let's talk about that for a minute, because I loved how you said, "Oh, there are moments when I slip."
Oh yeah.
Right. That's guess what, guys? That's human nature.
Yeah.
Right. You will fucking fall, and you will fall a lot. And some days you'll fall for more days than. But
don't give up.
But don't give up. And I mean, that's so easy to say sometimes, because again, there have been multiple times in my life where I've wanted to give up, especially again in the past few months.
Yeah.
Just shortly, where I literally was like, I can't do this. I can't do this.
What was it that got you through that?
So the biggest thing I would have to say is, illumination. And what I mean by illumination is being completely vulnerable and honest with where I'm at with multiple people.
So light is the
So bringing light to the situation, so illuminating it, so talking about it.
Yep.
So you'll hear a couple things like, your secrets keep you sick, right? If you keep that internalized, right? Think about black mold. Think about cancer. Where does it survive?
Right, in the dark.
In the dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if I illuminate that. Now, hey, guess what? If I just tell you, Nicky, right? Guess what? Yeah, that's good and all, but you can't carry that.
But you're still carrying it all over.
Yeah, and you can't carry that by yourself, right? Frankie feels it like he's in a dark place.
Because now you're asking other people to carry it with their see your secret too, or
or keep
or
that,
whatever you want to say.
You can't just carry that load for me. So well, guess what? If I disperse it along a number of people, right? Guess what? That load starts to get carried. Now there might be a few of you out there that may think that you have no one. Guess what? I felt that way too. But you'd be surprised who will help you if you allow yourself to get the help, right? I mean, I will tell you, the most random people and the most, like, people that I've never really been that close with are the people that carried me over these past couple months.
Really?
Yeah, man. Like, it's crazy, like, I'll just name drop a couple people, but and I'm gonna be forgetting people. So people that I don't mention, don't get offended. Right. It's not about that. But look at you're still with Renovation Fitness, right?
Yeah.
Shout out Renovation.
Shout out to Renovation. Yes.
Our coaches, Jordan and Kimberly.
Yeah.
Kimberly was such a big light, for me. But the reason I mention this is because there's a period for certain people, right? She can't carry that load by herself, nor is she going to be able to be that for me You know, people
Right.
come into your life in specific periods for that period for a reason, right?
Yep.
So maybe it was like her at one point, then it gets passed off to someone else, right? And it could be little glimpses of light, right?
Right.
You know, I had a friend, you know, who I randomly met at one of the gyms I work out at, which is the Hop in Kirkland. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I met this one of their
That
trainers.
place is pretty dope.
It's
yeah.
great, yeah. Great people, but you know, there's Rosalie, who's one of the trainers there. Like, didn't know her, but she was so helpful. You know, I remember you had Tiana in here. you
Yeah,
know.
she was great too.
Yeah, and I remember we just had a little snippet. I didn't quite tell her what was happening, but she was like so great with, "Hey, I'm gonna be praying for you."
Well, she's been through some shit too.
Yeah.
You know, like she's beat an eating disorder, and like, so I think she's been in some dark places herself. So
You know what I loved? Sorry to cut you off. About her whole thing with you is she says, "I write paragraphs to people because I don't know if I'm going to have the opportunity to do that tomorrow."
yeah,
Which is crazy to me, you know?
that is crazy. But it's like, well, I was talking with a friend of mine, my old wrestling promoter, and we were talking about like if you knew that you only had like you had some disease and you knew you only had a month to live, like think of this stuff, like you'd want to tell everybody how much they meant to you. And it's like, well, what if we just did that anyway? You know what I mean? Like without like feeling like we're gonna die, you know, like. And so she was saying like she does that. I'm like, that's amazing.
I can attest to that.
Yeah.
That it's true. You know,
Right.
like every time it's like maybe I might write one or two words to her and she'll just have this heartfelt response.
Yeah, she seems really kind of wise beyond her years.
Totally.
Like,
Totally.
yeah, that was cool. Yeah, she was cool.
I wish I could say I could do that, and I try to, but man, my pattern of behavior is I take people for granted. You know, shitty to say. So if you're beating yourself up out there thinking that that's you, you know, man, I feel it, and it's so like. It's so hard to live with that inner roommate sometimes, that inner voice that just wants to beat you up,
Oh yeah,
you know?
that's like you can't get away from it.
Oh, yeah. So, but,
I always tell people don't listen to that fucker. Like,
yeah.
you know, it's like 'cause I even have some friends that like they're always so like negative towards themselves and stuff, and I'm like, don't believe that voice.
Yeah.
Like that voice is lying to you. Like you're killing it. You're doing amazing. But you know, it's hard. Like you said, when people are depressed, they don't see it.
Man, that inner dialogue, I mean, it could come out of nowhere, and it's so hard to just ignore.
And it's ruthless.
It's ruthless.
Yeah.
Now, there's this book called The Untethered Soul. I don't know if you've heard of it.
No.
I forgot who it's Michael Singer, I think.
I do love reading though, so I will take these.
Yeah, man. So Untethered Soul was a great one. I think it's that one, or either The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. But I think it's Untethered Soul that talks about the inner roommate, right?
Yeah.
And how it's constantly talking to you and it's talking shit to you, right?
Yeah.
And it's saying the worst stuff ever. And you believe
Like
it.
stuff you would never say to even your enemy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yet, if let's say it's some random person that's talking shit about you, in
You'd be
the
like,
street,
whatever.
You'd be like, whatever. Fuck you, man.
fuck
you
you.
wouldn't listen to him, right?
No.
So why would we listen to that lying voice?
Yeah, and it's not even really us. It's just like
It's what they call the ego. Right?
it's the ego. The ego wants to keep you safe.
Yeah.
So it basically wants you to, I don't know.
And it's a complicated subject, the ego.
It is. What do you think about the ego? You're talking about it in the sense of psychology.
Man,
Because I think having an ego can be good.
it is good. There's some good and bad in the ego.
Yeah. But it's also the thing that'll hold you back.
Yeah. You know, a lot of those books, again, like Richard, or a lot of authors, Richard Rohr, Eckhart Tolle, Michael Singer, they do focus a lot on that talk of the ego and the false narrative that it provides.
Oh, I know. It's stupid.
What do I think about it? Man, it's so hard because I want to believe it sometimes, you know? Like, not just in the times where it's talking shit to me.
But where it's telling you you're the shit.
Or there are times where it's like, it tells me that circumstances should be different.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like, no, Frankie, like, it's okay to be sad about this because you are supposed to have that job or you are supposed to be with that person.
Right.
And like, you're like, yeah, I should be, and like, and that's not necessary. So, for example, like, let's use something that's not so personal to me. So, I'm not looking for a job right now, right? Happy with where I'm at. Okay?
Yeah.
But let's say the ego says, yeah, that you're supposed to have that job, and that job aligns with my values, it aligns with my virtues, my core ethics, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything. And for some reason, it's just something that's not happening, right?
Right.
And I'm so hung up on that, as and maybe it's maybe the reason I'm not getting it is because someone less qualified is the potential.
Oh, that would be so frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah, but man, I don't know. It's tough.
They always say that, like, that's how you push things away, though. Mm-hmm. Is like expecting things, or like, you know what I'm saying? That's like what pushes them away from you. Mm-hmm. Like, you just open like they always say, you need to open yourself up to things, and then they'll come to you. Or like, there's one like about like, if you want butterflies, you don't run after them and chase them. You like build a garden and they'll come to you. Like that. You have to build the garden. So like, and it's the same way of attracting things you want or people you want. You have to work on the you.
Exactly.
You can't go out and like force them. You have to like make yourself, it's putting in work to you, and then you attract the things that you want. But if you think you deserve them, sometimes that comes off as like arrogant, and you push them away, right?
Dude,
like,
and you might not even physically be doing it with that person or that thing.
It just might be all mental.
But it's also, here we're talking about vibrations in the universe.
It's the vibes, dude.
It's the vibes, man. Because here's the thing. I had a recent experience where I was just like, things just weren't happening, and then I just kind of let go a bit, and obviously things started like coming to me.
Right, when you let go of the control sometimes.
Yeah,
dude.
here, I'm going to use this as an example.
Yeah.
Here, I saw this monk. Can I hold this by the cord?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
So, here's this pair of headphones, right? Mm-hmm. So, you guys on the microphone can't see this, but those of you that are watching
they can see it. Yeah.
Right. So what happens when I pull this closer to me? Right.
It goes away from you.
Right. Yeah. But what happens when I push it away?
It comes back to you.
It comes back to me.
Well, it's even like that old analogy of like, if you love something, set it free. Like,
oh man,
because it's true. You know what I mean? Like, the more you try to control something, the more you push it away from you.
Absolutely.
Because like I've even had that with my mom, where she gets like so like controlling and stuff, and it's like, Mom, you just gotta like let it go. What do you got? A cube?
Yeah, a cube of wintergreen.
I wanted some of that chew, but
yeah.
No. Oh yeah, that's good stuff. I don't know, dude. But yeah, it's just a growing thing. It's like,
and it's something that we're always gonna battle with.
It's like that Metallica has that. Hetfield has that line. It's like, love is control. I'll die if I let go. It's like love it, because that's he had to learn that love is not control.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's the opposite, right?
It's the opposite. It's kind of like letting people
be who they are.
Like when I find somebody and I want to be with somebody, I want somebody that I don't want to be with anyone that's like too codependent. I want us both to have like our own goals and then build something together.
Sure.
I don't want to. I don't know.
It's almost like if you have, and this analogy is used a lot, right? With the whole, if you have a flower that's not doing so well, let's say the leaves are wilting, and what do? Right? You don't fix the flower, right? There's nothing you can do to that. It's controlling the environment, right?
Right.
By watering it, making sure the soil is healthy.
And that's what you got to do with yourself,
sunlight.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, it's so difficult though. You just never know, and
well, it's kind of the thing too about you also never know what somebody's going through. Absolutely. Which kind of goes to your thing about kindness. That's why I'm always like trying to be kind. Like, I mean, even like me, I work at that bar on the weekends, and it's like I just listen to this thing about some of the unhappiest jobs are like like bankers, lawyers, tech job, anything sitting at a desk. And I'm like, shit, no wonder these people are like that. I'm like, so I got to be kind to these people. Like, they're like, have, like, a lot of them are like from the tech world. And like, I don't know. It's a tough, and
I tell you what, you're at a desk, like, you're with you.
Is yours a desk job?
Yeah, I work from home. I just started a new job.
Yeah, but that same thing I was listening to said that studies showed that work from home actually makes people much happier.
Yeah, I don't.
Is that weird, or do you like the office better?
Man, I think I enjoy both of them for different reasons.
Right.
But I don't have an office to go to. My corporate office is in Pittsburgh, so.
Oh, so you're here? Yeah.
I'm here to stay, but I'm so thankful for my work from home job right now.
Right.
And, here's the thing again. Like, it's all perception and how you view things. So, I was starting this new job and everything was kind of falling apart. And I'm like, why does it have to be falling apart during the time that I'm starting a new gig?
Because that had to be way hard.
Where it should be like a good time. This should be like a time where I should rejoice and like be able to celebrate this new venture.
Yeah. Because it's a good job, probably. You probably should be. You felt like, oh, I should be able to be happy about this.
I should be happy. I should be able to share it with the people I care about, Now, that's the way I was viewing it at the time.
But then is that something where you start beating yourself up again? Like,
yeah,
I should be this, or I
should be.
Like, it's almost like you never should say that to yourself, right? Like,
yeah. I forgot. Someone close to me said you should eliminate the word should and need, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I should have been better at this by now, because then you're just beating yourself up. Or I should have been this, yeah.
Yeah, and anyways, I started that job thinking all of these thoughts. And then here I am a few months later, right, looking back again. Here's living life forward and understanding it backwards.
Yeah.
Because my perspective at that time was negative, right? Looking at it as a pessimist or the glass half empty.
Yeah.
Now, when I look back at it, I'm so thankful that I started the job when I did, because going through that moment in my life, those circumstances that I was dealing with, if I was going through that with my old job, I probably would have been fired or something.
Right.
Now, having this new job, everything was still so fresh, so I didn't have much work to do. So things were slow. I was just really getting used to the systems, which allowed me to feel my feelings.
Right.
Well,
because I know I've been through a breakup once where I was like, it really can affect your job. Like, you're at work, but you're like not there mentally,
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, shit.
But it was, so lots of good stuff, man. We talked about some good stuff today.
So how are you feeling now? You seem like in a good spot now.
Oh, man.
But still putting in a lot of work.
It's still a painful process, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm putting in a lot of work, and, it's not like it doesn't get hard.
Yeah, it's always going to be hard, right?
No, not necessarily. I've had some great experiences that I just, I'm so lucky to have had the chance to experience over the past month or two. You know? But it is constant work, and I still have my moments,
But it's like you're definitely going to end up a stronger you.
Yeah, that's at least the hope, right?
Well, I mean, it's like kind of your only option, right?
It's funny because I tell people, and I wholeheartedly believe this, right?
Yeah.
Hey, guess what? Everything that you're going through right now, if it's shitty, it's happening for you.
Right.
Right? It's happening for your highest good, right?
Yeah, I end up looking back and being so grateful for shitty things that happen to me.
Yeah, it's like the best present in shitty gift wrap.
Yeah.
Right?
Or like you said, like you don't like that analogy of the horse.
Yeah.
Like there's things where I've wanted certain things and then not gotten them, and I look back, I'm like, thank God that didn't happen for me.
Or
like, I'm so glad I'm not with that person. Like, you're like, shit, what was I thinking? Or like,
man, I tell you what, Yeah. Or you've gotten the thing that you've wanted and
then
you're
you're
just
empty.
and it like literally just is the
Oh,
worst
it's the worst thing. It's like, I didn't want this at all. I just thought I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I find that sometimes too, where you reach and reach and reach for things and you get them and it's like never enough.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, then you want more and more and more. And so then you're never happy with the thing you have. And like, you're chasing this dragon. And it's like, so for me, I found you just have to like choose to be, for myself anyway, I just have to like choose to be happy.
The 7 deadly sins.
Yeah.
You know, greed, right?
Yeah. Wanting
Like,
more.
always wanting more. That's a thing.
Yeah.
And you know, whether you like to admit it or not, people that are listening, okay, I know you experience it too.
Oh, we all do. Human
We all
nature.
do. Yeah. That's why they're there, right?
That's why there's competition. That's why there's clout. That's why there's all these things. It's humans. Humans have this innate thing of wanting to like
Oh yeah.
achieve or compete or like. But it's like, it's good. It's good that you have people to reach out to, because I feel like that too. Like, it's always good to have friends that are like real with you.
Yeah.
Like, for me, like, I have some really good friends that like, they don't let me kind of like, I don't know, just like they don't let me bullshit them or myself. And I think that's good to have friends, because like, I don't want to bullshit myself.
It's good. I mean, that's why it's always good to have multiple people, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because you need kind of a little bit of everything.
Rare, if you talk to the wrong person and they maybe have an outlook on life that's toxic because they haven't had things go right in their life, or they haven't achieved the things they wanted, or like, you know, like, hey, I have this dream of doing this thing. Like, oh, you'll never do that. That's stupid. You're dumb. Like, you don't want that person.
No, you
either.
don't want that.
You don't want to. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's always like, you got to be. So I think it's good to run things by numerous people, have different opinions, and also trust your own opinion too. You know.
Yeah, and that one's tough, because I'm at that point, and I'm just going to talk vulnerably and open with myself.
Yes.
Like, I can't trust myself. You know, that's why I have to run it by people.
Right.
At least, you know, there are times where I can. You know, I think if I'm questioning what I'm doing, I should probably talk to someone about it.
Right, because it's that other voice again.
Yep.
Like, that's still in there with you.
Yeah.
You know?
Now, if I'm like, you know, it's almost like that saying, like, you don't always know what's right, but you always know what's wrong, you know? Or maybe if you're questioning whether you're doing it, it's probably not the right thing, or you should get an outside perspective from it.
Right.
You know, so I do this thing. So a group of my guy friends, we have something called a group conscious.
Yeah.
You know, or group conscience. Sorry.
No, that's good.
Where it's like, hey, if there's something that you're thinking that is a significant life choice, or maybe something that can impact another person or significantly impact your life in some way or another, maybe it might not seem so significant.
Yeah.
But run it by 3 people.
Right.
So 3 people. And, you know, maybe you might get corresponding answers from all 3 of them. Or maybe you get, like,
Different
the majority
opinions.
vote, you know?
But it's like having a group conscience. Like,
Yeah. Now, you don't have to take that. You know, you don't have to take the suggestion or the advice.
Yeah.
But at least you have an outside perspective.
I think it's so good too for like men to have that, because I feel like we run the risk of like, you know, not being able to talk about vulnerable things or feelings, or like, and then so many men end up like alone at the end of their life. Like, it's not the same. Like, women definitely are better about talking and having friendships, and like sometimes it's hard. Like, men don't do it.
It's funny.
So-
Was that on a Joe Rogan podcast where he's like, maybe it wasn't that, but I heard this recently, where when guys get together,
Yeah.
right, typical guys getting together, it's usually they're in front of a TV, they're eating food and
Watching a game
yeah, and they're
or
not
something.
looking at each other, right?
Yeah, they don't want to talk about feelings.
When
like,
women actually physically go out to lunch, and they're usually face to face looking
and they're
at
like,
each
well,
other.
how are you? Like, they'll even touch each other.
Yeah,
like,
they're making eye contact.
we're like, bro, don't be weird. Like,
yeah,
it's
we're
like,
guys, like what we're doing right now. We're making eye contact,
right. And that's why I love this podcast, dude. It's like one of the first time in many years where I get to like, and I was intimidated to do it at first because I had started this with my friend. I thought I was always going to have a buffer of one other guy, and he was going to be funny, and it was going to be comedy all the time. But I was like scared. I'm like, I just have to do it myself because he ended up not being able to do it or whatever.
Yeah.
And the thing I found that I enjoy the most about it is like just connecting with people again, like where you actually get locked in. You're locked in with the phones. Our phones, for the most part, are down. We're not on them.
Yeah.
You actually are talking with people, and it's like, at our age, dude, like, I forget how old you are again.
I'm 29 for the, what is that?
So same
year
as
in
me.
a row.
Okay,
just
same
kidding.
as me. So
I'm
we're
41. Yeah.
We're very similar in age. Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
41. I'm going for my master's pro card here. So,
Dude, that's dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like you said, it's like 41, but best shape of your life, right?
well, maybe not right now.
Not right now, technically, but you know what I'm saying.
It's
like,
bulking season, but yeah, no, I'm good.
But you know what I mean. It's like no, even if it took you that long to figure shit out, like at least you're doing it now, right? Like,
Man.
and you're still figuring stuff out. But I guess
It's a very humbling experience.
now
I'll
shit.
tell
Now
you.
I lost my point. I was like, people our age, something.
Phones, putting them down,
Right. Well,
just not making
I think,
connections.
I think my point was going to be people our age. It is definitely harder to make connections and make friends.
Yeah.
When you're a kid, it's so natural.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh, hey, you know, like your parents take you over. Oh, this is so-and-so here. We're going to go get drunk with their parents. You guys stay here with the babysitter. Now you're like best friends. Like, it's so much, it's different when you get older to like make real friendships because we don't do a lot of this. And I think you're right. Men, usually it's like, you don't really do that. You know, you're, like you said, you're watching a game together or you're in the bar drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, people are constantly in fear or scared of the uncomfortability, right?
Right.
So when I tell people, hey, reach out to me, or if you're feeling a certain way, like illuminate it, and they're
Right.
like, well, I don't have anyone to talk to. Yeah, you probably don't because you're not used to it. But tell you what, reach out to someone and just tell someone. Just tell some random person, right?
That's so valuable. It's like,
Now he's like, no, you may be like, well, I don't want to do that because they're a random person. I don't know them. Well, kind of what I did, and I'm not anything special, man. Like,
right.
you know, when I started reaching out to people, I was like, okay, this is really awkward for me to do, you know, but I'm just giving you a call to let you know where I'm at. And I just didn't have anyone to reach out to,
Right.
you know. Guess what?
But it helps.
Well, you know what's weird? Kind of in my thought process this was the reaction I thought I was going to get. Why are you calling me?
Yeah.
Like, who are you? Get the fuck away from me, you fucking weirdo.
That's what you were worried about?
That's what, you know, these are the fears that crop up, right? Mm-hmm. That's what the inner voice is telling us is going to happen.
Right.
But people are like, man, I'm so sorry you're going through this. I'm glad you reached out to me.
Yeah.
You know, and I had some conversations that were very surface level, you know, but the more people I called,
Yeah.
okay, the bigger this circle got, right? And I just started, you know, there's lots of, so I ended up getting professional help too.
Right.
You know? I like groups.
Which is good.
Yeah. I mean, there was, so if you think that calling a hotline and being hospitalized is something you don't want to go down, well, I tell you what, if you want to really change and you're serious about wanting a better life, you know, you don't have to be miserable, right? And it might be uncomfortable to do that, but that's what happened to me. That's what I had to do.
But you're right. It's that fear of being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've even been trying to learn that with like networking and all that stuff, like, or even like doing this podcast. It's like so many people just are scared of being uncomfortable. And it's like you said, that you can't really, that's like the first step, right? Mm-hmm. I just feel like, yeah. And I don't know, people are very worried about what other people think of them sometimes. Mm-hmm. And I think, once you, like you said, if you said like illuminate, like you're basically saying sunlight is it's like a saying I've heard before, but
you're thinking about that Albert Einstein saying, right?
Like sunlight is the disinfectant, or like I can't remember what it is.
So, it's that I know the saying you're thinking about.
I can't think
of
it right now.
Albert Einstein says, "Without light, there can be no dark, and without dark, there can be no light." Right?
That's a great thing too. I mean,
so in order to offset the darkness, you need light, right? It's kind of what that's saying.
Well, the other thing I was thinking is like once you basically shine light on stuff and you've kind of been vulnerable, it's like, I mean, what can people do? Like it's already out there. Mm-hmm. They have nothing. Like if I'm talking about people that are worried about like, oh, if people can use something against them, or like they're worried about how people will view them, but it's kind of like, that's like the ultimate, having the ultimate power is like once you've just been totally free and honest about this is what I am, this is who I am, and like nobody can really do much to you then.
Yeah,
because it's like it's all out there. Like this is what it is.
Well, let me ask you a question, and most people answer this. Actually, I've never had anyone answer this the other way. And when I say the other way, you're gonna be like, wait, what are you talking about? Well, if you had or there's two type of people. Which people do you actually respect and like to hang around with more? Are they the people that are fully authentic, that are completely themselves, that are letting it all hang out? Mm-hmm. Or is it that person who's just trying to act the way that that they think you want them to?
Dude, I like the authentic.
Yeah, right?
Even when I get like people in here that have different opinions than me about certain things, I love it because it's like they're being themselves.
Yeah.
And even if they're like, like, I don't know, like they're just like kind of like see things a certain way, and it's like this is how it is. I'm like, at least they're being themselves, like I'd rather be around that. Like,
so let's talk about people we don't like, right? That are out on public platforms, who are being fully authentic. You know what? Can you really hate them that much for being who they are? Right.
I mean, I love it.
Yeah.
I love authentic people, dude. I like comedians. I don't know. Mm-hmm. It's just like, I don't know. I just value that more.
Now, if they're doing bad things, then guess what?
That's different.
You don't have to like them,
Well, at least you know who they are.
Yeah, but at least you know who they are.
Right. Yeah. It's like if somebody hates me, I'd rather like kind of know that they hate me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Than like have them pretend.
Hate me for me rather than hate me for who they think I am.
Or like me for somebody I'm not really, that I'm pretending to be. Right, 100%.
Yeah. And that's where that imposter syndrome comes in, right? Where it's like, if I'm going to pretend to be someone else, and that's why I started talking more about, these mental health things. I went on Mark's live IG, Mark's and Diane's live IG.
He's prolific with that.
Dude, man, he's just...
I told him, I'm like, dude, I want you to start putting these on YouTube, though, and you could turn this into a podcast if he knew what he was doing. He's like, oh, that's too much work. I'm like, yeah, it would be a lot of work.
I mean, it's pretty much he's doing it already. He just needs to upload it. Right?
That's what I was saying. I'm like, if you just save the video and then you upload it to YouTube, and I can show you how to upload it to Spotify, Apple, iTunes, you already have the audio. I mean, these are podcasts, basically. Like... He could do it.
Yeah, but,
He's a busy guy, though.
That was the first time I went public with...
Talking about some of these things?
Yeah. So, and I talked about a couple months ago, but, my story... I mean, obviously it starts from the time I was born, but I failed my suicide attempt. Mm-hmm. December 4th of 2017, I tried to take my life.
Damn.
And I survived that attempt. And I thought that was the worst time of my life, And then here I am 5 years later, and I went through an even darker phase.
And you made it through.
But this time, I chose to get help. That was the difference.
So you're trying to put it out there so that people can see that that's available.
Yeah, and just because I'm showing up today, tonight, this way, and on this podcast, doesn't mean that I don't have my dark moments.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
No.
2 days ago, 2 days ago, I was beating myself up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, couldn't stand to look at myself, but I had to remind myself, like, this is temporary. This is temporary.
It'll pass.
It'll pass, and these are things that aren't true.
Yes.
Right? Like,
yes.
like, you know, I do, and here's, if the more good you do,
Mm-hmm.
right, the better you're going to be able to put your head on the pillow at the end of the night.
Yes.
You know?
And also, I think, like, keeping promises to yourself.
Yeah.
Do you ever, like, I always feel like that's a big one for me is, like, yeah, doing good. Because if you do something bad, like, it's going to affect you. You don't think it will.
Yeah.
But, like, the guilt is it's going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, I feel like, for me, it's like keeping promises. Like, I said I was going to do this thing, and now I'm not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I start feeling bad.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's where you have all of that negative, that morbid reflection.
Well, because it's like I deserve this, and I owe myself this, but I'm not doing it. I'm not taking care of myself. You know, like, that's where I get mad at myself. It's like,
yeah. And that's, you know, you're doing a good thing here with this podcast, you know, because you're involving other people.
well, I'm kind of trying to also let it be a showcase for the other people, and like, it's kind of what you said about the thing I like the most about it is you kind of hit it on the head. Like, we're surrounded by the superficial like 90% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, when a lot of times in here you get a person one-on-one, it ends up getting really deep.
Yeah.
And honestly, I get so bored with superficial, like, just bored out of my mind. And like, I like crave having, like, going deeper with stuff, you know, like, that's what I like to, you know, not all the time. There's a time when it's like, what are you doing? You know, like, you got to serve a beer right now. Like, we don't, you know, but I mean, even at the bar, you end up kind of doing that where.
Yeah, you're like a counselor, basically.
You really are as a bartender. You'll end up being a therapist, a counselor. You know, but I think it's good what you're doing. I think it's good what you're saying. As far as, like, I just feel like it definitely helps people, and it shows, like, because I would look at you as somebody who has their shit together, who's doing great. So, like, nobody would know that, like, you can have everything, have your shit together, appear to be great, and you could still be going through this darkest time in your life. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I think that's what happens, like, sometimes with, like I said, our heroes who have committed suicide or whatever, like, they seem like they have everything. You would have never thought, like Chester Bennington or Chris Cornell or, like, I mean, you never really know. So
You just don't.
I think also the message to people to, like, actually get help is huge, because that even goes in, like, things like eating disorders and, like, I know. So my friend, she just got her master's, and she works with people with eating disorders because she had one. And so, like, that's like Tiana, when she was on here, she was talking about that, and it's like she ended up she got help, but she didn't go to a center. Mm-hmm. But she had help with the doctor, and her parents, like, they got it. But she's like, I wouldn't suggest that. I think sometimes, like, so even with an eating disorder like anorexia, you literally have to go get help because you will die.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, I think depression is the same thing. It's like,
Depression.
People don't. It's like
alcoholism, drugs, food. Don't think, too, that your problem is too small. Like, I know there's a lot of people that may be struggling, and they're like, well, my problem's, like, not alcohol, or it's not, like, suicide. Guess what? Like, your problem is not too small. Like, like, please, you know.
There's, like, this,
air it out.
There's this Neil Young song where he has this line where it's like, he's like, even though my problems are meaningless, it doesn't make them go away. And it's like, so he even knows, it's like, I mean, I feel like everybody has that. It's like, even if it's something really small to someone else, if it's, like, ruining your world, like, it's not going to go away till you deal with it, basically. You know, like.
You know, it's funny about like the whole Cadillac problems, right? That's what we call them.
Cadillac problem?
Like, you know, because you got a caddy. How bad can life really be? You know, because
Yeah.
it was actually a really good car back in the day.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
So they call it.
A Cadillac problem.
Yeah,
Well, or even like a first world problem. Like
yeah,
we live in the U.S. Like our life is fucking
yeah,
amazing compared to like
yeah.
however percentage of. But I mean, that doesn't make the problem go away.
It doesn't make it less significant than others, right? So, you know, if you're, you know, you brought up like, hey, this person might be was very well off growing up, right? Like parents had money, they had everything they could ever ask for, you know, and let's say like, you know, it's what would seem small to us.
Yeah.
Guess what? Like, let's humble ourselves a little bit because we're not all cut from the same cloth.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that their problem is any less significant than ours. It's just,
and it's definitely significant to them.
it is to them.
And that's what they have to deal with. It's that, I mean, because somebody else can't deal with it for them. They're going to have to deal with it or face it at some point. And so, like, if it's causing them tremendous pain and suffering, like, that's you sitting there and saying, like, oh, that's no big deal. What do you know, put some dirt on it. It's not going to help them really. Like,
yeah. I mean, I can tell you I've been through a lot of shit, you know, a lot of life experience.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It really doesn't, you know. People have been through worse than I am. Does that mean my problems are not as important?
It's not going to make them go away. Like, that's that Neil Young line.
Yeah,
it's like, it's just not.
I love that line.
It's not going to make it, you know, it could be a meaningless problem, but to somebody else, but to you, it could be the biggest thing in the world.
Yeah.
You know?
So if, you know, get some help, you know. So I called that suicide hotline, you know.
Yeah.
They have something called the warm line as well. Okay. So if, let's say, you're not at that point where you just want to end things and you have a plan. Okay. There's this warm line where you can literally just talk to someone. And, man, you know, it's
I mean, that's huge that's out there and more people don't use it.
dude, well, it's embarrassing to have to call that, man. So my friend Miranda, shout out to you, Miranda. Love you a lot. Friend for a long time. She's like, I'm really worried about you. You should call this, you know? And I'm like, I don't need to call it, you know?
Yeah.
And then she made me promise her to call.
Right.
So I called, you know, and then they passed me off to the warm line. And I remember one day I was just like, I'm really not good. And I had to really admit that to myself. I had to be honest with myself that it was really that bad, that my thoughts were really that dark.
Was that hard to do?
Oh, it was hard because they took me out of my house, you know, had to go to the hospital, had to talk to a social worker.
How long did you have to stay?
Couple days. Yeah.
Yeah. Damn.
Yeah. No one knew.
And did they get you hooked up with the help you needed?
Yeah, I mean,
or was that something you had to find afterwards?
Well, technically, it could have gone many different directions. You know? Luckily, I was seeking help from a professional, and then I had agreed to go on antidepressants.
Yep.
You know, so I am on antidepressants. It's something that I never. That was also something I had a stigmatism. Like, I didn't want to take something because I didn't want something to define who I was.
Right.
Right. I was scared to take them because I was afraid to see how the world would view Frankie if he was on antidepressants.
Yeah.
You know, so I got on Lexapro, which is like an anti-anxiety med, pretty much antidepressant. I was going through these panic attacks. I don't know if you've ever had one before. I didn't.
Not really.
I've never had them in my whole entire life, and I would start. Something would happen.
I've had like anxiety, but I don't think ever a full-on attack like that.
Yeah, I would just have trouble breathing, you know, and then I would almost feel like I would be in this hamster wheel that wouldn't stop spinning. Not like visually, I wouldn't trip out like that.
No, but I mean that's what they like. There's also ruminating. They say that's like a hamster wheel. I don't know.
Oh man, it was just like.
But yours was like a anxiety.
It was bad, yeah. And then so I'm on a short-term stint, so I should be off in a couple months. Maybe.
So sometimes people need them forever. Other times people just need them to get through a period, and then they're fine off of them again. Mm-hmm. At least that's what I've always heard.
Yeah.
So who knows?
I mean,
but I have friends that have been on them and that they need them.
It's really dependent on the person. So the plan that I have going forward with my professional health care, my primary health care is, hey, we'll see. So in about a month, I'm going to take half the dosage that I'm on right now.
Yep.
Then I'm going to go down to half of that dosage. Mm-hmm. And then the plan is to really be off in about 2.5 months.
Okay. And then see how you are.
But here's the thing. If I start going through those episodes again,
you'll probably reach out again.
No, I'll probably just continue to take it.
Right.
Yeah. And we've already have that plan. She's like, we have enough to where I have enough to where I can keep going if I need to, in case, let's say, like, day 2 off of it, I'm like, this is a noticeable
You're back
difference.
in that spot. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so how does all this play into your goals or your plans for bodybuilding? And like, are you gonna do some shows in the next year?
That's a good
Or is
question.
it something where the extra stress and pressure from that might not be the best thing for you right now?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, I don't really get stress
from that?
From prep. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know. Like, I didn't know how that would, if that was something that would, because that can be hard for people. It can be brutal sometimes. Like
the eating.
The starving
the
part.
Extreme dieting. Yeah. I mean, who knows? We'll just, the whole thing is like, I can't pretend to know how it's going to be. Right.
So you're playing it by ear, basically.
Let's just stay present. And that's the key to life, right?
Yeah.
Be in the moment, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the way to be the happiest.
Yeah. Because that's where God is. That's where
I mean, that's all we really have.
Yeah.
Is where we are right now. We could start thinking about the future, or I could start reminiscing about the past, but like, we're here right now.
Again.
And then in a second we're gonna be here. And it's like and that's it.
Again, if we talk about that parable, right?
Yeah.
Guess what? If we're living in the future or the past, guess what?
It's like, anxiety.
Yeah,
isn't that what that is? Like they say like
we just don't know.
Yeah, like anxiety is the wondering what's gonna happen, and I don't know, yeah.
Yeah, it's basically that's what it is. Yeah, the future tripping, right?
Have you ever tried like when we were talking about ego earlier, like have you ever done any kind of like mushrooms or anything like that? Or
some psychedelic.
Some people say they experience ego death.
I wouldn't put it past it.
But I'm sure the ego comes back.
I'm sure it does.
I think when you're on them, they melt the ego and you realize you're just all part of this one thing. Whatever it is, the universe, God, we're all this one thing together. We're all connected, and you like realize that. And then I think once you come down from them, basically, you're just like, the ego will come back.
Yeah. You know, that psilocybus treatments or whatever you call it, the mushroom treatment, or
microdosing. That's going to be huge in the next 5 years.
I think it's huge right now.
I might even have a guest coming on who is starting a church.
Oh,
that has to do with
based
like
off that.
Yeah.
So there's that. There's also what is it? The ayahuasca.
Yeah.
Which a lot
That's
of people
like a cactus or something.
Yeah, which people have had great experiences off of.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna pretend to not love mushrooms because
you've done them.
Every time I've done them,
woo!
Now, I've had a great time.
I've actually never really done them.
Really?
No.
Yeah, I've had a lot of experience with them, and even the bad times were very life-changing,
enlightening kind of. I was like, I may or may not have some in here somewhere. I mean, those pills right there, those are microdose.
Oh, those are.
One of my powerlifter buddies gave me those. But I
look at that.
Might have some other ones.
Just kidding.
I know. I was like, should we just take a few?
No.
The podcast will go like 3 more hours. We're almost 3 hours.
Are we really?
Not really. We're like 240 right now.
Damn, sorry, you guys.
No, this was a really good one.
Yeah. Oh shit, I didn't even realize.
Yeah.
Those, I guess that's good.
No, that's really good. This was fun, man.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're in a better spot than you were. I had no idea, and I'm glad you're sharing this with people.
Yeah.
And like I'm here for you too, man. If you ever,
Yeah. Well,
because I look up to you. I think you're, especially in bodybuilding. Since I've met the people in Renovation Fitness, and like every time, being a new guy in this area, you were always so kind and nice and like easy to talk to. So like even if I didn't know anybody, and just the thing where you kind of had liked the music connection, so you liked the Yellow Ledbetter thing, and like I knew that you knew I was a pro wrestler. So like if I was ever like at an event where I really didn't know anybody, like you were usually pretty easy to talk to, and I was like, oh, Frankie's here, that's at least I could talk to him, or like
Thanks, man.
That meant a lot to me, because I was new, I didn't know people yet.
It's if I appreciate that, and thank you, and you're welcome too. Yeah. Before I get too sidetracked, actually, I'm already sidetracked.
Well, let's talk about what you need to talk about here.
Yeah, sure. I do want to say, though, don't take first impressions, too. Because I've met people that are like, man, I thought you hated me the first time I met you,
Really?
Like, maybe I gave them the wrong look or something.
Dude, I've had people that I've hated the first time I met them, and then I end up really liking them.
I've had that happen, too.
Right.
But I've literally had people where they're like, man, like I came and introduced myself, and like you just kind of weren't having it. I'm like,
you were a dick.
Dude, I was like, I don't even remember.
You probably didn't even remember.
Yeah.
People
are just sensitive.
Well, that was like, I think
I'm the same way though.
I think it was Mark was talking about when he first met Carlo.
Oh yeah.
And we were giving him shit like, oh, you were big timing him, but he didn't know him. He's like, I'm sure a lot of people come up and say hi,
yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, Mark, you were big timing him. You're just like, who's this? No. But.
Yeah, so you could always talk to me. If I seem like I didn't like you, that wasn't on purpose.
Right. I think a lot of times we don't even mean to do it. It's just maybe we're busy or distracted by something else, or like maybe you even have your own shit going on, or like you're late for work, or like you got to plan that, like you don't know, and someone's trying to say hi, and it's not even that you mean to be mean. It's like, oh, hey, and then you're like, I got to go or whatever. Like,
now, if I don't like you and you ask me if I don't like you,
will you tell them?
I'll be honest, yeah. I won't really say that I won't like them, because here's the thing. I believe that we're all cut from the same cloth, right?
Yeah, I kind of like everybody in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, you're all my brothers, you're all my sisters, however, whatever higher power you believe in. Mm-hmm. I believe we're all children of God in some way.
Yeah. I think we are all connected.
Hey, we're all connected. Hey, I read a random fact today. Okay, random fact. That humans and galaxies share 97% of the same atoms. So we're in essence, we're all technically stardust.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, we're made out of it.
Yeah, we're made out of it. It's literally, it's proven.
Yeah, whatever the way that we're created, if it's God or the universe or whatever, like we're made out of it.
97% of the same atoms in us.
Like we used to be in a star, like all this.
Yeah. Fucking weird. But yeah, come talk to me if you need to. Psilocybus treatment, never done it. I've been sober technically for 5 years, so I don't drink anymore.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Like I have these whiskey bottles here.
Yeah.
But I am not a drinker
Dude,
either.
let's fucking do this right now.
Oh, it's like 5 years.
I don't drink.
You still have that sense of humor, don't you?
I do.
Like I think a lot of people that
still smells good.
That's that Metallica whiskey, dude.
Oh, that blackened.
Yeah, blackened Dizzy. Yeah.
Yeah, I still love the smell of bourbon and whiskey.
Right, I kind of like. It's like I'm like collecting them now, because I started with the Metallica one, then I got one more, then I got another. One of my really good customers got me this Proper 12 when he was over in Ireland for Christmas. He's like, I'll bring you that Conor McGregor shit. I'm like, cool, dude.
Yeah, that's right.
And
my friend,
now it's a collection.
My friend Jacqueline is actually sponsored by them.
That's dope.
Jacqueline Conroe, she's on Instagram. She's big time model. So,
right.
This stuff though, I'm such a dork, man.
Color
I literally smelled this and I was like, it smells. I was literally gonna say it smells like it was aged in brandy, and look at that.
It was.
Yeah. Finished in brandy cask. There's this.
And they blast Metallica music through it, and then you get the playlist. Like this is batch 125.
Yeah.
So like I have the playlist of what it all got played. Like,
well,
Whiskey in the Jar, Hero of the Day. I think it was like Fade to Black. There's like 5 or 6 songs.
If you like whiskey,
yeah.
Angel's Envy is also aged in Brandy.
Yeah.
And that was like 2012 whiskey of the world.
I do like it. I just don't drink it because it's not good for me mentally.
Yeah.
It's not good for me physically. Every once in a while, like when Jay was on here,
Yeah.
we're like, let's do it.
I
don't know.
guys.
Jay's got a good. He's like such a fun dude.
Yeah,
like
I love that guy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like, I'm like, fuck it. Jay will do a little. You know, and it kind of brings out that side of you. You know, like
he's like a big He's like a big kid, man.
He's a kid.
You just have fun with him.
He's a fun dude, man.
He's just a good guy.
But yeah, so it's like, but now I have it as a collection, and even my roommate's like, I'm like, oh, I got another bottle for the podcast. He's like, you could drink it. I'm like, well, you just like don't get me, bro.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's not about drinking it. It's about having the collection.
Just aesthetics, right?
Yeah,
there.
it's aesthetics, dude.
Yeah.
And plus, I like whiskey, and it's like I will have a little here and there. You know.
Good for you, man.
Maybe after the show in April, I'll have like a little bit. Like who knows, you know?
See, if it was me, like if I start with one sip, guess what? All 4 of those bottles are going down this evening.
And that's not a good thing.
No, it's not a good
right.
thing. Yeah. So
But what about chewing, man? I want to chew now. It's like,
the nicotine habit is like.
Well, I just saw an Andrew Huberman thing about nicotine is a nootropic, and like so, nicotine itself can actually be beneficial, like memory, cognitive ability. It's the carcinogens from like the tobacco. That's what's bad for you.
Dude, yeah, that's the thing. That's why they have all of these products out there that are tobacco free.
Just nicotine.
Yeah.
But then you get hooked on that.
And they taste good.
Or like Adderall. A lot of people are on Adderall now too.
Dude, man, I can't do Adderall. So
I've never done it.
Here's another fun fact for me.
Yeah.
Because I like sharing my history.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't see this part of me, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you looked at me, would you think I had a drug problem?
Well, no, I think everybody sees the bodybuilder image
Yeah,
now.
everyone sees the bodybuilder.
I don't even think they would have understood the sublime fucking making money musician guy. You know, like I don't think people would have ever guessed that either.
Yeah. Maybe I'll post some of that sometime.
Right.
Now, man, I used to be a fucking meth addict and a crack addict.
Yeah.
You know? And Adderall, I remember when I would take it.
Is that close to meth?
It's literally, for me, it felt exactly the same.
Yeah. Now, has bodybuilding been a main thing that's helped keep you
no
on the straight and narrow, or is it more like religion, or is it like...
It was the birth of my son Isaac,
and that was it?
Yeah, he was Isaac's 17 now. He's such a handsome Isaac. Don't let this go to your head.
Yeah,
but he's just
good kid,
man. I'm just so really lucky because he's just responsible. He's got great morals and virtues, you know.
Yeah.
I attribute that not to myself, but to his grandparents on his stepdad's side. Yep. His stepdad, Patrick, and his mom, Rachel. I mean, I'm so lucky, man.
Yeah.
Like, just the way it all happened. But, no, pretty much when she told me she was pregnant, I locked myself in my room for 2 years. Or 2 years, no. I locked myself in my room for about 2 weeks, went through all the withdrawal process.
Because you just knew.
Because I knew.
Can't do this.
I can't do this. Well, I almost lost my job. I just... No. Yeah.
So is it, like, having a kid must be one of the most profound things. Like, because it does... I've heard stories like that a lot.
Yeah.
Like, even so many people that when they get off drugs, it's like they just... Having a kid must really change you. Like,
I just... You know, I just wanted to make sure that...
You didn't want his dad to be that guy.
I didn't want his dad to be that guy. You're right. And I also didn't want to be like my dad.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, Dad, if you listen to this or if anyone in my family. My dad's turned into a great person, you know, and I'm not going to get into it. My dad is alive and well, and he's a loving man. But my you know... There were some things that just...
But maybe when you were young, it wasn't ideal.
It wasn't ideal. Yeah. And I'll get into that sometime.
Well, and that can fuck you up.
Yeah, and it has.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my relationships and how I show up today. And, you know, it's part of... And it's all part of the discovery process, so...
Mm-hmm. You know, I notice that theme in bodybuilding a lot.
Yeah,
is
parents.
Like, like having maybe either a dad that's
Mom
not
or
there.
Dad issues.
Yeah.
I know. It's a thing, man.
It's a thing, dude.
It really is.
Yeah. I mean, even like Bradley Martin, he was that dude that his dad committed suicide, I believe, or like, and that's what he had to find become his own kind of like father figure through bodybuilding, or like, it's weird. You like look up to these father figures, like from like even me, like I love Stallone, like all these like and like certain wrestlers that I consider like heroes and shit. Like I've kind of found these different. Like and my dad's great. It's not like he wasn't there or anything.
Yeah.
But I've found these like kind of like father figure type characters that have like inspired me through the years. You know, like. So I don't know, dude.
Well, I don't know if anyone's actually going to listen to this entire episode.
Yeah, dude, we're at like fucking almost 3 hours, baby.
Dude, this is
Let's
like,
wrap this thing up.
yeah,
What do you got? You probably got one final message for everybody.
One final message. God, man, I don't know. I really don't.
Just if you need help, reach out.
Dude, if you need help, reach out to me. Like,
chase your dreams.
Not even reach out to someone. Like, if you're really struggling and you just don't know who to reach out to, guess what? You can reach out to me. Like no one was able to take the pain that I was going through away, but it just helped to kind of emotionally vomit on people.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's like even like your friends sometimes you just need to vent.
Yeah.
Because that's like I said, my friends keep me honest and stuff, but like it's also like they're like, you just need to vent sometimes.
Yeah.
It's not. I guess if I would say anything I learned from this is like, don't be ashamed or scared to be vulnerable. Don't be ashamed or scared to get help if you need it. Mm-hmm. Don't be, the stigma against like if you need medication or this or that. Like, I feel like what you're doing is a good thing because people, I don't know. Yeah, we bottle too much shit up. Yeah. Like I think it's like you said, the sunlight thing. That's the best thing I took away from this.
Good. No problem is too small.
I also think we should put that sunlight thing on all politics now.
Yeah.
Let's disinfect all that. Yeah, put the sunlight on that too, and like, yeah. But anyway, man.
Yeah. Other than that, by the way, you did ask me what I got next, so I'll be competing in Pittsburgh, mid-July for Gary Udit's. It's a Masters national show.
Hell yeah!
So I heard they're bringing a Masters division to Olympia.
Really?
So, I mean, if it's possible for me to be an Olympian in the 40s in the ring,
dude, I think you can do it.
We'll see. I'm just a little guy.
You keep surprising yourself, though, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, did you ever think you'd, like, the musician would he have ever thought, like, wow, I'm going to be on stage with a fucking sword someday, lean as fuck, winning a show, like.
Never, no.
Yeah.
No.
And that's the cool thing about life, dude.
Yeah.
And that's like I always think that's the value of like it's kind of what you said about creating the new neural pathways too. Like if you would have not believed that, like you would have never been able to create that new version of you.
Yeah.
Like
I do have a takeaway. If I'm going to leave with anything, because winning the sword and everything was cool.
Yeah.
But the reality of it was I wish I would have taken advantage of the people that I cared about the most in my life and shared it with those people.
Yes. Well, that's more important than winning anything.
Exactly. There were a lot of people that were close to me that day that I just wish I would have spent more time with them that day, And so don't take the people that are close to you for granted.
That's huge.
Yeah.
I think especially when we're chasing ambitions, we forget.
Dude, and it's so easy. I don't know about you guys out there, but for me, the people that get like probably the worst treatment in my life are the people that are close to me.
I think that's most people.
Yeah.
Most people treat the people the closest to them the worst sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the people that they love the most.
I know.
And so that's what I've been working on there's this book called, for you guys out there, there's this book called The Mansfield Men of Manly Men. Yeah. Something my pastor recommended to me. I read it. And there's something about tending your field. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it talks about the virtues and the importance of taking care of what's important to you. Mm-hmm. And I think, just don't take people for granted and take care of it, right? Yeah.
Right.
Take care of them.
That's a huge message.
Yeah.
I've had other bodybuilders in here talk about that, like, take that time with your family, take that time with your friends. Like, nothing we're doing or trying to achieve is more important than that.
100%.
I think that's a good place to end it.
Yeah, good.
All right, man. Well,
All
I
right.
appreciate you being here.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, everybody, for listening out there.
If you're still tuned in, you're a hero.
You're a hero. 3 hours, baby. All right. Thank you, Frankie. We'll sign off.
Hey, thanks, brother.